If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 101. Natsuki listened quietly. He already knew all of this, but hearing it personally from Neji still made him sigh with sympathy. There was a sense of confusion and despair in Neji's voice, like a bird trapped in a cage, longing to soar freely but unable to do so, only able to cry blood. In the original story, Hayashi gave Neji Hisashi's letter. In it, Hisashi claimed to have willingly sacrificed himself. Hayashi even knelt down to beg Neji for forgiveness, and Neji let go of his resentment. It seemed touching on the surface, but if you think about it deeply, it's absolutely ridiculous. Kumigakure tried to kidnap the Hyuga clan heiress, failed, and had the audacity to turn around and demand Hayashi's life in compensation. The third Hokage was spineless enough to entertain it. But the Hyuga clan, always boasting of being the strongest clan, didn't even try to resist. Instead, they gave in and acted cowardly. Hayashi himself kept proclaiming his willingness to die to prove his sincerity. If you're not even afraid to die, why not have the guts to defy the Hokage? Why not stand up to Kumigakure? You claim to sacrifice yourself for the sake of peace in the village, but would the Hyuga clan really let their clan head die just like that? That would be a complete disgrace. In the end, wasn't it Hisashi who looked exactly like Hayashi who took his place and died? Hisashi must have realized this too. Rather than be forced into death, he might as well volunteer for it. At least that way, Neji could receive some preferential treatment in return. But did the main family ever treat Neji better? No. Such a genius as Neji was constantly suppressed. He wasn't even allowed to learn Kaden, rotation. If not for his own extraordinary comprehension that allowed him to master it on his own, he'd have remained just an average genius, someone not worth mentioning. The Hyuga main family wanted the protection of the branch house, but feared the branch getting too powerful, so many secret techniques were never passed down to them. What a complete joke! The so-called strongest clan in the ninja world? More like the most laughable. Natsuki, can you imagine the despair of not being able to control your own fate? Neji's voice trembled. I feel that despair right now. I once believed that destiny was predetermined and unchangeable. But when someone like you, a commoner with no background, defeated me. When I saw you battle Orochimaru while I, born into a noble clan, was powerless. I started to believe in miracles. You were born with nothing, had no inherited knowledge, yet your efforts allowed you to surpass me far beyond me. It's amazing. It feels like a miracle. I want to believe in miracles too. I want to break free from the cage. I don't want to be a caged bird anymore, I want to fly freely. Tell me, do you think I can do it? Though Neji's eyes were pure white, Natsuki felt he could see hope in them. He really was starting to believe in miracles. And not because of Naruto's sweet talk, but because he had begun to think. He no longer blindly accepted fate as unchangeable. He changed, because Natsuki had defeated and surpassed him. Natsuki took a deep breath and said solemnly. Neji, fate can be changed. Miracles must be made by your own hands. You need a smart mind, great strength, and clear direction. Neji's eyes lit up. He gripped his forehead protector tightly. Then, what should I do? Instead of answering directly, Natsuki glanced around, then shouted ahead. Gai-sensei, Tenten, Lee. I'm taking Neji grocery shopping. You all come to my place for dinner tonight. Oh? You're treating us, Natsuki? All right, you two go ahead. Gai and Lee waved. Go ahead, I'll bring them to your place later, Tenten added. Natsuki nodded, motioning to Neji to follow. Although confused, Neji quickly kept pace only to discover that Natsuki didn't take him shopping at all. They went straight home. Natsuki smiled. Don't worry about ingredients, we've got plenty at home. I mainly wanted to talk in private. Can you check if anyone's nearby? We don't want to be overheard. Neji immediately understood the seriousness of what Natsuki was about to say. He activated his Byakugan and scanned the area. Finding no one, he nodded. Natsuki poured 2 glasses of water and carefully chose his words. Neji, have you ever thought about this? If the only goal was to protect the Byakugan, then why not mark everyone with the caged bird seal? Why create a distinction between main and branch families? Even if the seal causes a minor blind spot, it's not a big deal. True strength doesn't worry about that, right? Neji frowned. He'd honestly never thought about it in depth, most people probably hadn't. Why? he asked. I think, Natsuki said, maybe it's because the Byakugan can evolve. His words hit like a thunderclap. Neji shot to his feet, stunned and disbelieving, but when he thought carefully, it seemed possible. As Natsuki said, if it was really just about protecting the Byakugan, there would be no need for this whole main branch division. Everyone could be sealed. The main family wouldn't need to hide inside the compound. The branch family wouldn't need to devote themselves to protecting them. If everyone worked together, the Hyuga name would shine across the battlefield. But now? The main family are cowards hiding behind the walls. The branch house are nothing but their slaves. The once great glory of the Hyuga clan is now a relic. The main family basks in the echoes of the past, having long rotted away. Surely the one who created the caged bird seal system must have foreseen this outcome? No. They definitely did. Anyone with half a brain could have predicted it. Yet they still chose to enforce the main branch system. Why? Now, with Natsuki's words, maybe this was the truth. The Byakugan can evolve. Or rather, a pure Byakugan can evolve. Neji's lips trembled. Is that really true? Natsuki shrugged. It's just a theory, but I think it's likely. Think about it, the Byakugan and Sharingan are both called two of the three great jutsu. Yet the Sharingan constantly evolves and grows stronger. Before their downfall, the Uchiha were known for producing powerful ninja non-stop. But the Hyuga clan? Who do you have? And if the Byakugan really is on par with the Sharingan, its performance has been disappointing. Everyone praises your gentle fist, but you're a jutsu clan, not a taijutsu clan. Neji nodded seriously. You're right. The Byakugan and Sharingan are considered equals, but Byakugan has always lagged behind. Since the Sharingan can evolve, then surely the Byakugan can too, especially the pure Byakugan. That's probably why the main family avoids placing the caged bird seal on themselves. They're waiting for a pair of eyes that can evolve and lead the clan to rise again. With that, it all clicked into place for Neji. But the more he understood, the heavier he felt. In the end, he was still that caged bird. Still far from freedom. Even if he understood the truth of the main branch division. It made no difference at all. Chapter 102. Natsuki chuckled, Neji, the Hyuga clan is an ancient clan. But over all these years, has there ever been a case where the Byakugan evolved? No, right? Maybe the legendary Hyuga Tenin did evolve his Byakugan, but the current Hyuga clan? There's no chance anymore. Everyone says the branch house is bound by the caged bird seal, but what about the main house? They're bound too. They've locked themselves in a cage called Konoha. They're cowardly, decaying, arrogant, and complacent. They lack ambition. They're too scared to even step outside the village. They're no different from the branch family who can't fly freely. At least the branch family resists. The main family clings to outdated rules and flaunts their status, lost in past glories and unwilling to wake up. Can such a main family lead the Byakugan to evolve? They can't. Neji's answer was firm and unwavering. Even if he was once confused, deep down he knew the current main family could never bring about an evolution of the Byakugan. The Uchiha's Sharingan evolves only through constant battle and emotional stimulus. And the Uchiha, they were always fighting. They never stopped growing stronger. Maybe they were arrogant, but their eyes could evolve. And the Hyuga? The rebellious branch is sealed in a cage. The decaying main family hides in fear. No one is flying. No one is evolving. How laughable. The Hyuga clan. Neji let out a chuckle, almost vindicated in his frustration. But Natsuki raised a hand to stop him. Don't laugh just yet. What I said about creating your own miracle wasn't just to make you feel better. You need a smart brain so you can think and find a way to break your chains. Pure Byakugan may be more likely to evolve, but no one ever said that Byakugan under the caged bird seal can't evolve. Maybe, the day your Byakugan evolves is the day your cage breaks open. Neji fell into deep thought, pondering the possibility. You have the advantage, Natsuki continued. Your talent is truly high. The main family, because they don't have the seal, has grown lazy. But you, because of the seal, crave the sky. So tell me, who has the better chance of escaping the cage in the end? Find a way to evolve. That's your clear direction. And you'll also need power, real power. Only the truly strong can control their fate and break their shackles. What do you think? You're right. Neji's eyes were bright and determined. I need a smart mind. I need great strength. I need clear direction. That's how I'll evolve the Byakugan. That's how I'll break free from this cage and soar free. Seeing that, Natsuki let out a breath of relief. Looks like he had his own version of talk no jutsu. But unlike Naruto's, his wasn't based on promises. Naruto made promises to fix everything when he became Hokage. Natsuki, on the other hand, used logical analysis and offered a path forward, allowing Neji to truly understand. That made all the difference. In the original story, Neji believed in Naruto's words like a god. But now? Neji understood Natsuki's reasoning, saw the truth for himself, and chose to walk his own path. To fight for his own destiny. That, perhaps, was the best outcome. Placing your hope in others or forging your own hope. Natsuki preferred the latter. And Neji clearly needed that. Natsuki stood up and smiled. As for what to do? You can think about it yourself. If you ever need help, you can come to me. Or if you run into any problems, we'll figure it out together. For now, I need to start cooking, or my girlfriend's gonna nag me. With that, he turned toward the kitchen. Thank you, Natsuki. Neji said sincerely, then stood up and joined him to prep vegetables. The haze in Neji's heart had been cleared, and a new light filled his soul. That's what hope does, it brings people back to life. Not long after, Tenten returned with Guy and Lee. The two Kappa boys wanted to help, but Natsuki refused. Instead, he created a shadow clone to play cards with them. Tenten followed suit and also made a clone to join. The real bodies went to help in the kitchen. After all, you can't let shadow clones cook because they explode. If one were to vanish while carrying food fresh from the oven, all that effort would go to waste. Just like in Boruto, when Naruto used a clone to be with his daughter on her birthday. When the clone popped, the cake fell and splattered, making Boruto so mad he nearly wanted to disown his dad. Naruto was a bit dumb for that. He could have just sent clones to work and stayed home himself. Anyway, back to the story. Natsuki and Tenten's clones were playing ninja kill with Lee, Neji, and Guy. It was actually pretty lively. But Guy kept glancing curiously at Neji. He felt something had changed. Neji didn't seem so cold anymore. While playing cards, he even smiled. Sometimes he even laughed. Guy didn't know what happened, but it was clearly a good change. He had always been aware of the Hyuga clan's internal problems. That's why he had always worried about Neji. But because he wasn't sure what to say, he never pushed too hard. Instead, he taught Neji through his passion alone. Now, seeing Neji smile and interact like this, Guy felt gratified so much so that he nearly teared up. Then Guy sneakily glanced toward the kitchen. He had a feeling this change in Neji had something to do with Natsuki. If that were true, then he was really grateful to him. Just then, Lee suddenly blurted. Neji, something's different about you. You're smiling during a card game. Did something good happen? Guy quickly gave Lee a thumbs up. Nice job, Lee. I wanted to ask too, but didn't dare. Neji's smile froze slightly. Then he shook his head. Maybe something good did happen. Natsuki just said a few things that made a lot of sense, helped me figure things out. So it really was Natsuki. Guy glanced over at Natsuki's shadow clone, his eyes filled with gratitude. Neji's emotional troubles had always left him helpless. Now, finally, he could breathe a little easier. Well, it's good that you figured it out, Guy said warmly. That in itself is a good thing. Try not to overthink so much anymore. Thank you, Guy-sensei. And thank you for always worrying about me. Neji bowed deeply in gratitude. He'd always known how much Guy cared for him. And perhaps because he didn't want to burden him, he never let Guy in too much. But Guy had always taught him earnestly, and he remembered it all. Lee was a little confused. What are you guys talking about? Natsuki's clone quickly changed the subject. Don't ask about people's personal matters. Come on, let's keep playing. Also, my cooking's always been praised. You guys are in for a treat tonight. Lee was immediately distracted. Really? That tasty? I'm excited. Chapter 103. Natsuki's cooking didn't disappoint anyone. To him, it was just some simple home-cooked dishes, but in a village like Konoha, where cuisine options were limited, even basic meals tasted amazing. Especially since the portions were generous, particularly the meat dishes. For someone like Li, who came from a humble or even poor background, being able to eat so much meat brought tears to his eyes. He almost exaggeratedly declared Natsuki a god of cooking. "Natsuki, your cooking is incredible." Li praised between mouthfuls, giving a thumbs up with a hand that never stopped eating. "Right? I used this exact culinary skill to completely win over Tenten. Ever since then, she hasn't been able to leave me," Natsuki said shamelessly, eyes wide with a straight face. Yes, my boyfriend's cooking is the best. I love it." Tenten sighed but went along with the nonsense. Still, seeing Li like that made Natsuki a little worried. Li's poor upbringing meant he had limited access to meat and nutrients, especially critical when doing intense training. His progress would be slower, and the damage to his body would be serious. Guy probably knew this. He'd gone through it himself. But even as a Jainin who could take high-level missions to earn money, his own intense training regimen already consumed most of his income for his own nutritional needs. There was little left to support Li. That wouldn't do. Natsuki couldn't hold back anymore. "Li, your training intensity is really high. You have to get enough meat and nutrition. I know you're short on money and can't afford good food, but you can't keep going like this. You've got to figure something out." Tenten and Neji both nodded in agreement. Training hard without replenishing enough nutrients would lead to bodily damage. That could have serious consequences. Li froze, unsure how to respond. Of course he knew this. He wanted to eat well and keep his body healthy, but he truly didn't have the money. Guy suddenly burst into tears. "This is all my fault. I'm the one who pushed Li to train so hard, yet I can't even help him eat properly. I'm such a failure of a teacher." "Not at all." Li panicked and rushed to defend him. "Guy-sensei taught me so much. You're the best teacher. This kind of hardship, I'll definitely overcome it." Li. Such a youthful and passionate answer. "Guy-sensei." They embraced, tears in their eyes, like a poetic sunset unfolding behind them, a touching, emotional scene. Tenten's mouth twitched uncontrollably, doing her best not to blurt something out. Natsuki covered his face and sighed. "All right, how about this, Li? I'll lend you some money. You can pay it back gradually once you start earning. For now, the most important thing is fixing the deficit in your body. If you really can't repay it, you can just come help out at Tenten's ninja tool shop. How's that sound?" Tenten nodded. "Exactly. You're at a critical stage in your training. You can't afford to let malnutrition hold you back. Borrow the money now and repay it slowly later." Neji also added. "If you need funds, I can lend you some too. No rush to pay it back. You guys, you're all so kind." Li was overwhelmed. "Then I won't hold back. Rock Li, will never forget your kindness. If you ever need help, just say the word, I'll never hesitate." No, just pay the money back when you can. Everyone faces tough times now and then." After the meal, Natsuki pulled out a thick stack of cash and handed it to Li. Having struggled with poverty before, he understood how painful it could be, so he didn't mind helping a friend. Li eagerly took it and even wrote a detailed IOU, finally leaving content and grateful. "Natsuki, Tenten, as a teacher, I really want to thank you both. There are some things I just can't do. I'm grateful you stepped in to help Li." Guy, nearly tearing up again, flashed his signature thumbs up with a big grin. Natsuki and Tenten quickly waved it off. "Li's our friend. Helping him is the right thing to do." Guy didn't say more. He flipped into a handstand and chased after Li. Neji looked at Natsuki seriously. "Natsuki, thank you for today. I might come to you with lots of problems in the future. Of course, if you ever need help, just ask." Natsuki grinned. "Then when Tenten and I get married, your wedding gift better not be cheap." Tenten pinched his arm and shot him a glare. He really had no filter. But Neji nodded sincerely. "You're right. I better start thinking of the perfect gift. After all, your wedding's probably not far off." With that, he walked away in deep thought. Once Neji was out of sight, Tenten whispered. "Natsuki, does Neji have some kind of story?" Natsuki quietly shut the door. "The Hyuga clan's situation is complicated. Not the kind of thing we can discuss in public. That's why I brought him home when he brought it up earlier. If you want to know, I'll tell you tonight, but you've got to keep it secret." Tenten gave him a look. Humph. Do you not trust me? You do know I've never once spilled your secrets, right? Natsuki quickly pulled her into a hug. Of course I trust you. But the Hyuga clan stuff is really sensitive. I just wanted to be extra careful. I'm just worried you might joke about it by accident. Tenten opened her mouth to argue but didn't. She did have a tendency to tease at times. Not that she blamed Natsuki. They'd been together for years, maybe not perfectly in sync, but close enough to understand each other's thoughts. And clearly, the Hyuga clan's problem was serious. Even Neji's personality was shaped by it. Even Guy didn't dare interfere too much, let alone anyone else. The fact that Neji had voluntarily opened up to Natsuki meant it was no small matter. That's why Natsuki had to be cautious. Still, the more mysterious it was, the more curious Tenten got. She had a teasing personality and a bit of a gossip streak. Natsuki looked at the sky. It's getting late. Should we head back to the ninja tool shop? Tenten instinctively tucked her hair behind her ear and whispered. Before coming here, I sent a message to my dad with a little hawk. Told him I'd be staying over tonight. Oh? So Tenten didn't want to sneak around or whisper after dark. She was being open about staying. That's good, Natsuki said without hesitation. Wouldn't want to worry your dad. Then, with a mischievous grin. So, my lovely future wife, I'll tell you all about the Hyuga clan tonight. Do you want to hear it while you're bathing, or while you're in bed? Tenten's face turned crimson. She definitely caught the implication in that question. If she chose to listen while bathing, that meant bathing together. That was dangerous but also kind of thrilling. After hesitating, she bit her lip and said. Then, let's talk while I bathe. But you have to stay outside the door. Natsuki's smile instantly froze. Chapter 104. Night had fallen, but Konoha village remained bustling. As the most prosperous village in the Land of Fire, with both thriving commerce and ninja patrols, its citizens felt safe even after dark. The night market was far from quiet. On his way back to the Hyuga compound, Neji walked through the lively streets without paying them any mind. His thoughts were still occupied by what Natsuki had said. He was seriously contemplating where to begin his investigation without the main family finding out. The fastest way to gather intel on the Hyuga clan is to access their archives. But the main family would never let a branch member like me browse freely. Not even if I used personal connections to plead with the clan head. It's just not possible. That means I'll need other methods like gathering information from outside sources. This would make it harder for the main family to notice and interfere. But, is there any information out there? Maybe. After all, the Hyuga clan didn't originate in Konoha. There could be records scattered elsewhere, though it might be difficult to find due to the age of the information. Other old clans might have documented something useful. I'll need to seek them out. And because I bear the caged bird seal, I'm not restricted from leaving the village and the main house doesn't monitor me outside. That's my chance. So what I need now is to raise my strength and my status. Once I'm a Jainin, I can leave the village more freely. Also, I need to study more. Natsuki was right, a smart mind is essential. Only then can I think of ways to break free. Only then can I recognize valuable clues when they appear. And only then can I navigate the web of main family manipulation with ease. Lost in thought, Neji almost bumped into a running child. He glanced down and noticed the grilled squid in the kid's hand, and it instantly reminded him of Lee's financial struggles. That in turn triggered a memory of something Tenten had once said. Tenten had admitted she once forgot what money was truly for, and it was Natsuki who reminded her. She realized then that her biggest strength was actually having money. With money, everything became easier. Want information? Just pay a bounty. Someone will deliver it to your door. That's it. I might need more money too. If there's something I can't investigate myself, I can commission someone else to do it in secret. His eyes lit up. Then he started thinking about his own finances. Even though he was the son of a former branch house head and nephew of the current Hyuga patriarch, he didn't have much saved up. Since his food and lodging were provided by the clan, his allowance had always been minimal. Now that he was officially a ninja and earning his own pay through missions, the clan had stopped giving him any allowance at all. So, how was he supposed to get more money? He thought about it all the way home and still couldn't find a good solution. Then he recalled how Natsuki had once been penniless, yet managed to create the ninja kill card game, selling it wildly and solving all his financial problems. Neji was deeply impressed. Compared to that, he felt rather inadequate. If he'd been in Natsuki's position, he probably wouldn't have figured anything out. Natsuki, Nat, the card game helped, but the rich girl was the real moneymaker. No rush. I'll figure something out eventually. He kept thinking and thinking until he gave himself insomnia. The next morning, when he left the Hyuga compound, he was clearly fatigued, with dark circles under his eyes. At the compound gate, he happened to run into his good uncle, Hayashi. Clan head. Neji greeted immediately. Neji, off to training. Hayashi's tone was hesitant and complicated. Yes. Guy-sensei's daily training mustn't be skipped. I see. Guy's a good teacher. Be sure to learn well from him. Yes, sir. You don't look well, Neji. Just didn't sleep well. For a moment, the two stood in awkward silence. Even Hinata, secretly peeking from behind, felt second-hand embarrassment but didn't dare step out. Hayashi eventually sighed quietly and said, "Training is important, but don't overdo it. If you have any difficulties, come talk to your uncle." Neji kept his head down and didn't answer. Hayashi walked past him. But he didn't notice the glint in Neji's eyes, the change in his aura. It's true that Neji had always harbored resentment toward Hayashi. But now, he had bigger goals. Some hatred could be buried temporarily, especially when this particular identity could be useful. Then, Neji suddenly called out. "Uncle, I have a favor to ask." Hayashi stopped in his tracks, his expression clearly showing surprise and joy. "Any Neji, you're, ahem. Of course. What is it? Just say the word, your uncle will help you however he can." Neji looked him straight in the eye and said. "Guy-sensei's training is intense. I need more food and nutrients. But the clan's diet is too light, and I don't want to break tradition, so I'd like to eat out. The thing is, I don't have enough savings." "That's easy." Hayashi replied without hesitation. "From now on, I'll give you 1 million RY each month in private. If it's not enough, just ask for more. Eat whatever you like." "Thank you, uncle. I'll go join my team now." "Good. I'll bring the money to you tonight." Neji nodded and hurried away before he lost control and started laughing. He knew his dear uncle was sentimental. Whether it was real or just for show, it didn't matter. Neji intended to take full advantage of it and he felt no guilt about it. His father had been forced to die by the Hyuga clan. This was just repayment of a debt, a tiny bit of interest. In the past, his resentment had kept him from asking for help, even when he was in need. Now, he still hated it all. But like Natsuki said, a wise mind doesn't resist head-on like an idiot. It plays the game, even acts a little. All he had to do was bow his head and say uncle, and Hayashi was overjoyed to hand over the cash. Such an easy way to make money, why wouldn't he take it? It also saved him from wasting time coming up with other money-making schemes. That time could go toward training and intelligence gathering. It was the most efficient option. A million RY a month? That's over 10 million a year. That's no small sum. Enough to move people. With that money, he could anonymously post bounties at exchange stations to gather intelligence on the Hyuga clan's movements and history before Konoha was founded. Within a year, he'd probably be a Chunin. Then he could gather information during missions outside the village too. Hayashi watched Neji walk away, eyes full of relief and joy. He didn't know what had prompted the change in Neji. But since it was a good change, he chose not to question it. Chapter 105. Today was a very lucky day for Natsuki. Out of the blue, Yamashiro Aoba, who had been rather hands-off with Natsuki, sought him out, saying he'd take him to meet Iwashi and Genma, the two former bodyguards of the fourth Hokage. Natsuki was instantly thrilled, following Aoba closely while wondering how to win them over. But clearly, Natsuki underestimated his own fame. Before long, Aoba found the two at the edge of the forest of death. "Iwashi, Genma, I brought the kid. Are you guys done?" Aoba greeted them. "Perfect timing," Iwashi nodded. "We just wrapped up. The forest of death is big, but not hard to comb through. The problem is there are too many places to hide, especially if it's someone like Orochimaru. If he insists on hiding, we may never find him." Genma, chewing on his long senbon needle, locked eyes on Natsuki. So you're the one everyone's been buzzing about lately, Konoha's Demon Blade Natsuki. Hey! Demon Blade? Me? Natsuki was a bit confused but quickly greeted them. Good evening, seniors. You're scouting for Orochimaru, right? I hope I'm not disturbing your work. These days, most of the Chunin and higher-ranked shinobi were busy investigating Orochimaru's movements. The Forest of Death, the upcoming exam venue, was a particular point of concern. They feared Orochimaru might ambush examinees. What puzzled Natsuki was that people like Kakashi, Guy, and even Aoba weren't involved in the search. Instead, they were all focused on training their students. Was it because Hiruzen already knew the search wouldn't succeed, and so instead assigned the instructors to protect their young sprouts? No point dwelling on it. Genma shook his head. You're not interrupting, we just finished. Aoba's already told us about you, and we were planning to meet you anyway. Natsuki stood straight and gave a deep bow. Genma senpai, Iwashi senpai, forgive my directness, please teach me the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. No need for all that. Iwashi waved his hand. We've heard plenty about you. Guy even taught you the Hachiman Tonk, 8 Gates release technique, and Kakashi passed down his father's Kenjutsu to you. Clearly, they trust you a lot. And judging by how you fought Orochimaru, their judgment is spot on. Genma, still biting his senbon, added. Plus, with Aoba vouching for you, we won't waste time testing you. The Flying Thunder God is an extremely advanced space-time jutsu. When used by the 4th Hokage, it was so refined that all nations feared him. The sad part is that we, his guards, barely learned the basics. We've always felt ashamed for not living up to his trust. You seem sharp. We hope the Flying Thunder God can shine again in your hands. Natsuki was overjoyed and bowed again. Thank you, seniors. I won't let you down. He hadn't expected them to pass down the technique so easily. But thinking about it, it made sense. After all, he'd already earned Guy and Kakashi's recognition. He'd fought Orochimaru head-on. And now, with Aoba backing him up, he had credibility from all directions. That they didn't trust him with the technique wasn't all that surprising. And since they trusted him, he'd give it his all. It's the Flying Thunder God. No way he'd fail to learn it. Iwashi and Genma had more work to do, so they didn't chat long. They simply handed him a scroll and waved him off. Natsuki bowed once more, sincerely grateful. He never took others' trust for granted. Gratitude must always be shown. Aoba laughed. All right, now that you've got what you wanted, go train. I know you're dying to get started. Judging by the village's current status, the second exam round should begin soon. I'll notify you when it's time. Thank you, Aoba-sensei. That was all Natsuki could say before hurrying home. Once inside, he shut every door and window, then went straight into the gravity training room and unrolled the scroll. The Hiraishin no Jutsu was a space-time instant movement jutsu. The user first inscribes a chakra formula, a Flying Thunder God seal, on a target. After that, the user or any object in contact with the user's chakra could instantly teleport to the marked location. The formula, once marked, was nearly impossible to erase. Of course, Natsuki knew that Rikude-level power could erase the seals. But since no one in the current era had that power, it didn't matter. His first task, learn how to make the Flying Thunder God seal. This was a complex pattern of unique symbols, seemingly linked to space-time itself. Once he mastered that, he'd need to sense the location of the seal from afar and attempt to teleport directly to it by traversing space. It sounded simple. But in reality, it was incredibly difficult. Even the 4th Hokage's bodyguards, now elite Genin, had only grasped the surface of it. They could barely use it in a formation-based setup. Natsuki was confident, but even he didn't expect to master it quickly. Still, there was no need to rush. He now had the scroll. Mastery was only a matter of time. Besides, he could use the gravity room's special features during training. After all, space-time techniques were dangerous. A wrong move while teleporting could get him ripped apart by dimensional turbulence. But in the training room, he had protection. At worst, he'd just pass out from the pain like last time. Right, when's the first of the month again? Oh, still 10 days away. Probably after the second exam ends. That thought calmed him even more. For now, he focused on reading the scroll and attempting to draw the formula. After several hours, Natsuki felt a little frustrated. Crafting the seal required extremely precise chakra control, something he hadn't yet mastered. He'd have to improve his control before making progress. Still, it wasn't a total loss. Repeated attempts helped sharpen his chakra control, and he was gradually memorizing the seal's structure. He'd be able to practice it from memory going forward. As expected of a forbidden jutsu, it was hard just to learn it. At that moment, he heard the front door open. Tenten was back. He immediately exited the gravity room. Chapter 106. Natsuki, you're already back. Tenten, carrying a basket of groceries, was a little surprised. I didn't hear anything from inside, so I thought you were still out. I bought some groceries, and I told Dad I'd be staying here tonight. Natsuki just smiled at her, his grin radiant, but said nothing. Tenten grew more curious, quickly putting down the basket and reaching out to touch his forehead. You're not running a fever. What's going on? Why are you smiling like that? Crossing his arms, Natsuki said, Tenten, help me scrub my back tonight. Scrub your back. Tenten's face flushed. You still remember what happened yesterday? I did agree to listen to you talk about the Hyuga clan while you bathed, but I didn't say I'd join you. And besides, we're still young. If we bathe together, it could get dangerous. I am afraid we might not be able to resist. 623, Natsuki chuckled. I got the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. Nani? Tenten's eyes instantly sparkled, and she grabbed both of Natsuki's shoulders, shaking him furiously. Natsuki! You really got it? Are you serious? Really? Natsuki, getting dizzy from the shaking, quickly grabbed her hands to stop her. Of course it's true. Aoba-sensei took me today to meet with Reito and Genma-senpai. Because of my outstanding performance all this time, they recognized my potential and gave me the scroll. Here, look. He handed her the scroll. Tenten's hands trembled as she took it, not daring to open it right away. She believed Natsuki, but having such a powerful forbidden jutsu suddenly fall into her hands made it all feel surreal. Then Natsuki pulled her into his arms. So, as a reward, can you help me scrub my back? Realizing what he was saying, Tenten reflexively pinched his waist, pouting, you're too much. Always thinking about that kind of stuff. Fine, fine. I'll help you scrub your back tonight and I'll even bathe with you, okay? Natsuki beamed. Tenten, you said it. Tenten's face turned even redder. Why yeah, I said it. We're going to get married someday anyway, so I'm just giving you a little preview. But you have to behave yourself. We're still too young, we can't. What if I can't help it? Why you still have to help it? You're the worst. Their teasing and flustered banter left both their cheeks burning. The thought of bathing together made them both nervous and excited. To shift their focus, Natsuki quickly sat down, pulling Tenten into his lap, and unrolled the scroll in front of them. Tenten, take a look and memorize it first. Try making the Hiraishin formula, but don't start practicing yet. This is space-time teleportation, it's extremely dangerous. I'll test it first on the night of the first, when I enter that special state. Once I have experience, I'll teach you. Tenten obediently nodded and started memorizing the contents of the scroll. She didn't feel shy at all. She and Natsuki were practically one now, no need to keep any distance. Especially since she did give him that reward. As time passed, she shyly asked, Natsuki, it's getting dark. Do you want to eat first, or shower first, or, watashi? Me. A perfect Japanese-style temptation. Natsuki's gaze darkened slightly. Then, let's shower together first. With that, he put away the scroll and pulled Tenten straight into the bathroom. The bathroom quickly became filled with cheerful chaos. 2 days later, all the remaining participants received notice to gather again at the entrance of the Forest of Death. But before entering the staging area, they had to be inspected just in case Orochimaru tried to sneak in disguised as a participant again. Natsuki quickly scanned the crowd and noticed far fewer participants than before. Looks like Orochimaru's ambush left a serious psychological shadow. Some had outright quit. The 2 grass ninja who had teamed up with Orochimaru were gone too, probably taken away for interrogation. With only 2 of them, they didn't qualify as a proper team anyway. What surprised Natsuki, however, was that the 3 sound ninja were still here. What the hell is that old geezer Sarutobi thinking? He knows the Sound Village is linked to Orochimaru. Those three are clearly his subordinates. Why hasn't he captured them? He even lets them participate. Is he trying to tail them back to Orochimaru or something? Natsuki didn't understand, but now wasn't the time to argue. Soon, it was his team's turn. After going through facial inspection by Anko and Genma designed to prevent someone like Orochimaru from repeating his trick of wearing someone's skin, they were allowed inside. Of course, Orochimaru wouldn't pull the same stunt twice. Everyone knew that. But for safety's sake, the inspections had to be done. Once Natsuki's team entered, they immediately sought out their friends. Megami summoned Pakun. Pakun, can you memorize the scent of our friends, especially Tenten Nisan? Boss is worried about her safety. Once we're in the forest, lock onto her position first. Pakun promised confidently, don't worry, Megami. I may not be strong in combat, but tracking is my specialty. He went around sniffing all the members of the Konoha 12 and even had a little chat with Akamaru, mostly about Inuzuka Hana's pet clinic. Apparently the services there were great, and the dog food was delicious. At that moment, Tenten looked toward Natsuki and blushed. She couldn't help recalling their shared bath. Just thinking about the scene made her flustered. But being the bold girl she was, she still managed to speak clearly, Natsuki, I know you're worried, but you don't need to go this far. With my current strength, I should be able to protect myself. Natsuki, however, shook his head firmly. I'm uneasy. I feel like Orochimaru is going to appear. Hearing this, Tenten didn't argue, but suggested, how about this, go collect the scrolls for your team first. Once you've got them, come find me, okay? I'll also work on collecting my team's scrolls. Once we both have them, we'll regroup and head for the tower together. Fine. Be careful. I'll have Pakun keep an eye on your situation. Natsuki had to compromise. He understood that Tenten wanted to be independent. She didn't want to always rely on her boyfriend. And if not for these special circumstances, he wouldn't have insisted either. All he wanted was to make sure Orochimaru didn't hurt her. He wasn't planning on directly helping her snatch scrolls. But Tenten's attitude was firm, so he could only respect it. He'd just have Pakun monitor her surroundings for any unfamiliar scents. Chapter 107. Everyone had just been force-fed a mouthful of dog food by the couple, leaving most of them a little speechless. Of course, there were also those who felt envious. Ino and Sakura, for example. Both were hopeless romantics, and seeing Natsuki and Tenten being so lovey-dovey made them burn with jealousy. But some people really didn't get it. Lee raised a fist and said righteously, don't worry, Natsuki. Neji and I will protect Tenten. Neji gave the bull-headed boy a sidelong glance, then added, yes, Lee and I will make sure Tenten is safe. Clearly, Neji had a higher emotional IQ. Natsuki and Tenten had just shared a moment as a couple. It wasn't the kind of thing others should butt into. But Lee, being the straightforward blockhead he was, chimed in without a second thought, making things a little awkward. Neji had no choice but to go along to ease the tension. Then I'll leave her in your care, Natsuki replied with gratitude, though he wasn't really counting on it. Even if Lee opened the fifth gate and teamed up with Neji, they still wouldn't stand a chance against Orochimaru. If things went wrong, Natsuki would have to handle it himself. Of course, it would be best if they never ran into Orochimaru at all. After all participants entered the testing grounds, everyone signed a waiver stating that they accepted the dangers of the exam and that no one would be held responsible in the event of death. Then, in team-based groups, they were brought into separate, sealed tents to receive their scrolls. After that, each team was taken to a unique entrance point. Natsuki's team received the Scroll of Heaven, which was placed in his care. The three of them waited silently at their designated entrance. Rainya was even having a stare-down with the Chunin gatekeeper. Thankfully, they didn't have to wait long. As soon as the signal flared, the gate was opened and the three quickly stepped into the forest, immediately engulfed by the oppressive atmosphere of the trees. The Forest of Death, rumored to be a creation of the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. If Yamato was famous for building towers with Mokuton, then Hashirama was the true forest maker. Just look at these trees, each one thicker than a house and towering hundreds of meters high. It gave the place a wild, primeval feeling. They called it the Forest of Death for good reason. The beasts weren't the biggest threat, poisonous bugs and snakes were. One careless bite or sting, and you'd be dead if not treated in time. Genin had to survive in this treacherous environment and steal scrolls from other teams. Only those who made it through could be considered qualified to become Chunin. Keh, Pakun, can you locate where everyone is? Megami stroked the small ninja dog's head. Leave it to me. Pakun sniffed the air for a long moment before reporting, Team 10 is over there, about 1 kilometer away. Team 8 is this way slightly farther, roughly 3 kilometers. As for Team 7 and Guy's team, they're probably on the other side. I can't smell them yet, so they're likely more than 8 kilometers away. Ninja hounds had excellent tracking ability, but they needed either scent trails or close range to be effective. If it was too far, they had to move in closer. Natsuki frowned, clearly dissatisfied with the distances. The forest's diameter was only about 20 kilometers. From any entry point to the central tower should only be around 10 kilometers. Yet Tenten's team was so far away that even Pakun couldn't catch her scent. This was going to be troublesome. And another point, if Team 7 and Guy's team were both far, that likely meant they were near each other. Which was not good news. Natsuki gritted his teeth. He knew Orochimaru's target was Sasuke. After getting humiliated by Itaki, Orochimaru had become obsessed with the Sharingan. Sasuke was his most desired vessel. If Orochimaru really did show up, he would definitely go after Sasuke to plant the cursed seal. And if Guy's team was nearby, they'd be dragged into it too. Pakun, Natsuki said, I remember Guy's and Team 7's entry points were in that direction. Let's go that way and check. Keep an eye out for anyone else. We'll grab their scrolls along the way. Pakun sniffed again and nodded. If we head that way, I smell a few unfamiliar scents not too far out. I'll guide you. As expected of the smartest among the 8 ninja hounds, completely reliable. Megami patted Pakun on the head and plopped him onto her own, probably worried his short legs couldn't keep up. But that was unnecessary. This dog could outrun anyone. Still, Pakun graciously accepted the ride, clearly satisfied with his new summoner. Team 9 moved out. They couldn't go all out due to safety concerns. Megami and Rainya couldn't match Natsuki's speed. Although Natsuki was anxious, he trusted Tenten's strength. Plus, she had 3 senzu beans with her. Even if Orochimaru appeared, they should hold out until he arrived. Soon, guided by Pakun, Team 9 located a squad of unfamiliar ninja. Their headbands were from some minor village. Natsuki didn't even recognize them. As soon as they saw Natsuki, they didn't resist at all and handed over their scroll. It turned out to be the scroll of earth, just what they needed. Natsuki accepted it without hesitation. Seeing that he wasn't going to hurt them, the enemy team sighed in relief. Megami grinned and scratched Pakun's head. Pakun, you're amazing. Thank you. I really feel like I'm helping the team. Pakun basked in the praise. No need to thank me, Megami. But if you really want to show appreciation, take me to Inuzuka Hana's pet clinic afterward. I'm interested in their services. Sure. Once the exam's over, I'll take you there. Megami agreed happily. She really felt like her contract with a summoning beast was making a difference. Helping the team find a scroll this easily, and soon she'd help find Tenten too. This feeling of being useful was just the best. Rainya praised her too. You're awesome, Megami. Okay, let's go find Tenten. Nisan now. Boss is getting worried. Team 9 moved on. Meanwhile, Guy's team had also made good progress. Not far into the forest, they encountered another team. After a short battle, they successfully took a scroll and it turned out to be exactly what they needed. Lee cheered, we're so lucky. We got both scrolls already. Neji nodded. Then let's head to the tower and avoid unnecessary fights. That way Natsuki won't worry too much. Tenten didn't object. She felt Natsuki was being overly cautious. While his concern made her heart warm, she wasn't just a pretty face. She didn't want to rely on him for everything. Let's head for the tower. Tenten paused mid-sentence, her brow suddenly furrowing. She'd heard something. Neji immediately activated his Byakugan and scanned the area. His face changed instantly. Not good. Orochimaru is really here. He's at Team 7's location. Chapter 108. At this moment, Team 7 was completely surrounded by Orochimaru alone. Sakura trembled in fear, Naruto's courage faltered, and Sasuke's expression turned grim. Hey, Sasuke, what should we do? Datebao. Naruto's voice shook. Unlike in the original story, where he urged Sasuke to fight, this time he just wanted to grab both Sasuke and Sakura and flee because he now understood how terrifying their enemy truly was. Orochimaru wasn't someone you could defeat just with guts and bravery. Fighting recklessly would be no different from throwing their lives away. Naruto might not fear death, but he couldn't bear to watch Sakura and Sasuke die in front of him. That would break him. Sasuke silently drew his short blade and said in a low voice, "Naruto, when the fight starts, take Sakura and run." Naruto immediately objected. "What about you? You're gonna stay and fight Orochimaru by yourself. Are you crazy, Datebao? You think I want to?" Sasuke snapped. "Quit whining. Out of the three of us, I'm the strongest. I'm the only one who can hold him off. While I'm stalling him, you run. The faster you run, the sooner I can retreat. Otherwise we're all dead." Sakura looked at Sasuke with tears in her eyes, her body trembling. She didn't want Sasuke to stay behind alone, but there was nothing she could do. She couldn't support him in any way. Staying would only drag him down. Still, the idea of leaving him to face Orochimaru by himself was unbearable. Naruto protested again. "No. I should be the one to stay. Sasuke, you're stronger. If anyone can protect Sakura and get her out, it's you. I might not be that strong, but I can at least buy you some time, Datebao." "Idiot Naruto. With your level, you'd just die instantly. What the hell makes you think you're the one who should stay? Bastard Sasuke. You expect me to run while I watch my comrade sacrifice himself? What kind of teammate would I be then? Nandatibao. Sasuke." The two of them actually started arguing, completely ignoring Orochimaru's presence. Orochimaru laughed hoarsely, his voice rasping, "Have you two finished your little strategy meeting? I'm coming now, okay? Better go all out, otherwise, you'll only die." As he spoke, his legs turned into serpents and he launched himself at the three with terrifying speed. His long tongue shot straight toward Sasuke. Sasuke shoved Naruto and Sakura aside, his short blade crackling with lightning as he charged forward. The Raken, Thunder Blade, met Orochimaru's tongue, but it was easily deflected. Sasuke had no choice but to duck and dodge. His Sharingan lit up with a red glow as he lunged at Orochimaru again, lightning aimed for the neck. "Hat! I heard you've been training in the White Fang's Kenjutsu. But your swordplay is far inferior to Natsuki's." Orochimaru sneered mockingly. With just a kunai, he effortlessly parried Sasuke's Raken. No matter how violently Sasuke attacked with his short blade, Orochimaru blocked it with ease. He even had the spare energy to counterattack. Within moments, Sasuke was already wounded. "Sasuke!" Naruto, panicking, formed hand seals. Tochikage Bunshin no Jutsu, multiple shadow clone technique. Dozens of clones charged at Orochimaru, but he simply whipped his tongue around, sweeping them all away. Fortunately, the distraction gave Sasuke enough time to retreat a few steps and catch his breath. Still, he growled at Naruto, "You idiot! Take Sakura and run! You want all three of us to die." Though he yelled, Sasuke was blaming himself. He had trained in the same swordsmanship as Natsuki, yet his skill was so far behind. Even if he started later, he had always thought himself a genius of the Uchiha. Supported by the Sharingan, he believed he could catch up fast. But reality had slapped him hard over and over. He had to admit he just wasn't good enough. Many people were stronger than him. Right now, he was too weak. Forget defeating Orochimaru, he couldn't even protect himself or his friends. How could someone like this hope to kill Uchiha Itachi? Hehe. You're just too weak, Sasuke-kun. Orochimaru's chilling smile sent a shiver down everyone's spine. Compared to your brother, you're laughably inferior. Sasuke's pupil shrank. Why mention him now? Where is he? Where is Uchiha Itachi? Orochimaru chuckled. You want to know? Then show me what you're really capable of. Sasuke said nothing more. He charged forward again with his blade, but now, the mention of Itachi had agitated him. His attacks became wild, uncoordinated, his swordplay far worse than before. It only took moments for Orochimaru to knock him aside. Sasuke hit the ground hard, groaning in pain, unable to get up. Naruto's fury flared, his eyes starting to morph like a beast's. Red chakra began leaking from him. The next second, he lunged at Orochimaru, trying to smash his serpent head in. But Orochimaru caught him by the neck with a single hand. Oh? So it's you. He had recognized the Jinkra key. Raising his hand, he pressed his fingers against Naruto's stomach. Gaji Fin, 5 elements seal. Naruto immediately passed out. Naruto. Sakura clutched Sasuke and screamed, but she was completely helpless. Orochimaru shook his head. Sasuke-kun, I actually had high hopes for you. But if this is all you've got, what a disappointment. Still, I'll give you a chance. A trial. As he spoke, his neck stretched like a snake, head lunging toward Sasuke's neck, mouth wide open, fangs bared. He was going to plant the cursed seal. Now, with Naruto unconscious, Sakura paralyzed by fear, and Sasuke writhing in pain, there was no way to resist. Despair flooded them all. Just then, a sharp female voice rang out. Raken, Rokurai. Thunder blade, falling thunder. Crack. A bolt of lightning shot down from the sky, striking Orochimaru directly and roasting him on the spot. The scent of cooked snake filled the air. Everyone turned toward the source and saw Tenten, Neji, and Lee. Tenten was geared in her full infinity socket armor, a Ragen Shinshaku, dragon eye retractable, sword strapped to her back, and wielding a pair of dark, serrated blades, the legendary Raken, Kaiba, Thunder Blades, Fangs, one of the 7 ninja swords of the mist. When they'd discussed the 7 ninja swords before, Natsuki had suggested Tenten find a way to acquire the Thunder Blades, Kaiba. Among the 7 swords, only 3 were truly practical, Samehada, Hiramekurei, and Kaiba. The Thunder Blades were the easiest to operate and fit Tenten perfectly. So, like how she acquired the full Artisan Ninja Village set, she placed a massive bounty for the Kaiba blades and someone delivered. Natsuki suspected Kakuzu took the job, considering how high the reward was. Money really could solve anything. Tenten. Neji. Lee. You're here. Thank goodness. Sakura was overwhelmed with joy. Don't celebrate too soon. We're getting out of here. Tenten's face was serious. She bit her thumb and performed a summoning Kukiyo's no jutsu. Summoning technique. With a puff, Burdra appeared. Tenten quickly motioned. Everyone, get on. We're flying out. Chapter 109. New fanfic event start tomorrow. Use your power stones on your favorite for it to be picked up. Power stones and reviews are counted. Thanks for your support. Anyone with half a brain could tell Orochimaru was definitely not down for the count. That guy was practically immortal. He could survive being decapitated, let alone a lightning strike. Sure enough, just as Neji used wire to pull the unconscious Naruto back and everyone had climbed onto Burdra's back before the giant eagle could even take off, a long blade pierced straight through its body. A closer look, what else could it be but the Kusanagi no Tsurugi, Kusanagi sword? Even while still sizzling and scorched, Orochimaru had crawled back to the ground. He opened his mouth, spat out a snake, which then spat out the sword, and with a sudden extension of the blade it impaled Burdra before it could react. Screech! Burdra let out a mournful cry, as if apologizing. Then puff, it vanished in smoke, dismissed from the summoning realm. Everyone crashed to the ground with pale faces. They had been this close to escaping, only to be thwarted by Orochimaru's brutal precision. Team Guy immediately stepped forward, taking a defensive stance. Tenten stood at the center. From the moment Neji sensed something wrong, they hadn't hesitated for a second. It wasn't that they thought they were some kind of heroes, it was just that when their comrades were in danger, they had to act. Tenten remembered Natsuki's warning, if you see Orochimaru, run. But she wasn't the kind of person who could abandon her friends. She was kind-hearted, through and through. Running away while leaving her teammates behind? She just couldn't do it. Still, facing Orochimaru now, the pressure was immense. Lee took a deep breath. Now's the time to give it everything we've got. I believe Guy-sensei would allow it. He took off the weights on his ankles. Chakras surged around him. Hachiman Tonk, 8 gates released formation. First gate Kai Monday. Second gate KY Monday. Third gate SEI Monday. Open. 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 He opened the first 3 gates in one go, not recklessly, but with clarity. Though he could open the 5th, even that wouldn't win the battle. Better to stop at the 3rd gate, avoid injury, and focus on distraction. Neji activated his Byakugan, adopting the stance of the Haka, 8 trigrams. Tenten, Lee and I will support you, go all out. Tenten didn't hesitate. Right. Let's do this. Orochimaru shed his charred outer layer using the Orochimaru Ry Kawarimi no Jutsu, Orochimaru-style substitution technique, emerging in a fresh form. His vertical pupils swept across the 3 defenders, pausing on Tenten. For once, he seemed less amused and more intrigued. "Hat! You've really surprised me. Konoha is full of talent. Especially you, Natsuki's girlfriend, right? Tenten, was it? I didn't expect the Raken, Kaiba, Thunder Blades, Fangs, of the Hidden Mist to end up in your hands. Combined with your special gear, your combat strength is already at Takubutsu Jainin level. For someone your age, that's rare." Tenten ignored his praise, crossing her twin blades and launching an orb of lightning. "Raiden, Reiki! Lightning release, lightning ball! ZZZZT!" The crackling sphere of electricity surged with power. Orochimaru didn't dare take it lightly. After that last electrocution, he wasn't eager for another round. Twisting his body like a serpent, he dodged. Lee and Neji immediately charged, one with a Konoha-san, Leaf Whirlwind, the other with Hakurokuchian SH, 8 trigrams 64 palms. They managed to engage Orochimaru for a few moves, but couldn't gain the upper hand. Orochimaru focused most of his effort on avoiding Tenten's attacks. The sting of that earlier lightning had been a harsh lesson. From behind, Sasuke and Sakura were dumbstruck watching it all unfold. They hadn't expected Team Guy to be this strong. Especially Tenten with that weapon, the Raken, Kaiba. She could launch lightning attacks easily and without seals, and the chakra cost seemed low. No wonder even Orochimaru had complimented her. But Sasuke, his heart twisted painfully. He could accept not being as strong as Natsuki. But now, so many prodigies were emerging, how was he supposed to stand out? Even the Hyuga had such strength. That bushy-browed weirdo who once sparred with him? He was now exploding with power. And Tenten? She was on another level entirely. The three of them could actually hold their own against Orochimaru. Meanwhile, Uchiha Sasuke had been thrashed. He was a joke. No. I can't let myself be looked down on. I'll fight too. Gritting his teeth, Sasuke forced down the pain and stood up. He pushed Sakura aside and charged, joining Lee and Neji. The three of them fought in sync, and for a moment, they actually seemed to have a slight advantage. Orochimaru licked his lips excitedly. But this wasn't the kind of situation he desired. Suddenly, he leaped back and formed hand seals. Kokiyos no Jutsu. Summoning technique. Boom! A massive serpent exploded onto the scene, slithering between the four of them. Its huge head loomed down, ready to swallow them whole. With Orochimaru standing atop its skull, the pressure was overwhelming. This is bad. What do we do now? The snake was enormous. Taking it down wouldn't be easy, and splitting up would scatter their formation. Exactly what Orochimaru wanted. Tenten quietly pulled out a scroll from her back. Looks like I'll have to use that. Meanwhile, Team 9 was en route. Suddenly, Pakun's expression changed. Not good. I smell an intense snake stench. About 5 kilometers that way, Team 7 and Team Guy are there. They're fighting something with very strong snake scent. Snake scent that strong? There was only one possible culprit, Orochimaru. Pakun looked apologetic. Sorry. I should have noticed sooner. Natsuki shook his head. No thank you. Without your nose, we'd still be in the dark. Now that we know, we move fast. He formed seals and pressed his hand to the ground. Poof! A small hawk appeared. What? Natsuki's heart sank. He had meant to summon Burdra. The little hawk squawked twice and relayed what had happened, making Natsuki's expression darken. Ron panicked. Boss! What is it? Is it serious? Natsuki said grimly. Burdra was summoned earlier by Tenten to help escape with Team 7 and Team Guy, but it got impaled by Orochimaru and dismissed. That means they're still fighting him. No time to lose. I'll go ahead. Pakun, lead these two behind me. With that, he vanished, reappearing mid-air, sprinting with high-speed chakra flow. Rainya and Megami shouted behind him, Boss, don't worry. We'll catch up, stay safe. Back in the forest, everyone's eyes were on Tenten as she prepared to unleash her secret weapon. Even Orochimaru looked curious. What could be more powerful than the Raken, Kaiba? Tenten unsealed the scroll and a storm of paper exploded outward. Rows upon rows of explosive tags began flying into the air. Take this. Kinten, Ikamen Kaibaku Fuda no Jutsu. Money release, secret art 10,000 explosive tags technique. Everyone nearly fainted. Even Orochimaru's snake spine twitched from the sheer absurdity. He hadn't been ready for that. Chapter 110. New fanfics are up. One Piece, Heroic Spirits Straw Hat Pirates. Dragon Ball, West City High Schooler, captures 18. No one expected Tenten's so-called trump card to be explosive tags. But the moment those densely packed tags swarmed toward the giant snake, and everyone realized there were 10,000 of them, they had to admit it was definitely a big move. After all, a single explosive tag could seriously injure even a cage-level ninja if detonated point blank. 10,000? That was devastating. The massive serpent was instantly plastered with tags before it could even do anything. It didn't even have time to cry. Boom! 10,000 explosive tags detonated all at once, and the shockwave swept out like a blazing tide. Sasuke and Team Guy turned and ran, dragging Sakura and the unconscious Naruto with them. They dove behind a huge rock. Lee kicked open a pit in the ground, and as they jumped in, Tenten summoned a massive shield to cover the hole's opening. Outside, the forest was a furnace of roaring explosions. They looked battered and dusty, but thankfully avoided the worst of the blast. Still, everyone gave Tenten some strange looks. Lee was the first to speak. Tenten, that was incredible. You actually threw out 10,000 explosive tags in one go. Truly, the power of a rich person. Tenten giggled. Natsuki taught me that. He said it's the purest form of power that money can buy. He called it money release. Explosive tags are amazing. With enough of them, even their simple destructive power becomes terrifying. Being rich really is strong. Lee gave her a thumbs up of approval, while Neji and Sasuke both fell silent, eyes shifting with thought. The more they thought about it, the more useful money seemed to be. Sasuke even began thinking, if he prepared 10,000 explosive tags in advance, and managed to cling onto Uchiha Itachi and detonate them at once, maybe, just maybe, he could take his brother down with him. It sounded naive, but with that kind of firepower, not impossible. The explosions gradually subsided, but no one dared to go out just yet. Neji activated his Byakugan to scan the area. His face darkened. As expected of one of the legendary Sunin, even after all that, Orochimaru's chakra is still there. Sasuke didn't seem surprised. Of course. If we can dodge it, he can dodge it even better. And he's like some undead monster, you just can't kill him. That's the most despairing thing. No matter how long we last, we'll never beat him. That wasn't cowardice, it was the truth. After fighting Orochimaru firsthand, Sasuke understood the overwhelming gap in power. Don't worry. Right now, our only job is to buy time. Tenten's eyes held a glimmer of hope. Natsuki promised me he'd come find me. As long as we keep holding out, he'll make it in time. We can't run anymore, this is the only path left. Everyone nodded. All they could do now, was wait for Natsuki to arrive. When Neji saw Orochimaru approaching again, he gave a warning. Tenten opened the shield. Everyone jumped out of the hole and stood ready. What they saw outside left them speechless. The giant serpent had been blown to pieces, mangled and lifeless. Orochimaru grinned wickedly. He, that was quite the move. 10,000 explosive tags. If I hadn't reacted fast, you might have actually killed me. Tenten didn't reply. Instead, she pulled out 2 more scrolls. If 10,000 didn't do it, then I've got 100,000. A million. I brought plenty. If I can't kill you, I'll keep bombing you until I do. Orochimaru. Everyone else. This girl, how rich is she? Carrying 1,000,000 explosive tags. Still, Tenten knew that mass detonations weren't always practical. If Orochimaru survived again, the resulting chaos could hurt her own teammates too. So instead, she summoned 2 short barrel cannons and began firing. Orochimaru instinctively dodged. But as soon as he did, the bullets exploded right beside his ears, each one packed with an explosive tag. The blast sent him flying. Tenten sighed, shame, if only one of them exploded inside his body. Even so, she kept firing continuously, summoning explosive tag bullets. She didn't believe she couldn't wear him down. But Orochimaru wasn't so easy to deal with. His legs turned to serpents again, twisting through the air as he zigzagged around the shots, rapidly closing the distance toward Tenten. Sasuke tried to intercept him but was quickly sent flying, his short blade shattered, and a gash sliced across his arm. Lee opened the 4th gate and rushed in to block, while Neji used Kaiden, rotation, to shield Tenten. But Orochimaru had clearly decided to end things quickly. He kicked Lee aside with brute force, then used Doton, Yomi Numa, Earth Release, Swamp of the Underworld, to trap Neji's feet, breaking his rotation. Bam! Neji was sent flying too. Still, both of them quickly leapt back to stand in front of Tenten. Tenten raised the Raken, Kaiba and said helplessly, "Why are you doing this? Let me fight him." But they said firmly, "We promised Natsuki we'd protect you. Even if we know you're strong, you're no match for him alone. We won't let you take that risk. You too." Tenten clenched her twin blades and launched another lightning strike. But once again, Lee and Neji were knocked away, this time injured far more severely. Even so, they collapsed right in front of her, shielding her to the last. Tenten's eyes filled with tears. She couldn't hold back as she shouted, "Natsuki! Hurry up and get here! He. Natsuki's too far away. He won't make it in time." Orochimaru let out a sinister laugh as he lunged, Kusanagi sword thrusting straight for her. Even uninjured, Tenten couldn't block this, she just wasn't strong enough. But just as the blade was about to pierce her, a shadow dropped from the sky. A foot slammed into Orochimaru's face, shattering his head in a single kick. Everyone froze in shock, then erupted in joy. The figure landed, shrouded in a torrent of chakra. It was Natsuki, his 8 gates blazing with power. "Sorry I'm late, everyone. Tenten, are you okay?" His voice was gentle, tinged with guilt. But when his eyes shifted to Orochimaru's headless body, they turned icy with killing intent. After sensing something was wrong, Natsuki had immediately opened the third gate and used Jeb, Moon Step, to rush over. He even heard the thunderous explosions in the distance, and his heart grew more and more anxious. Without hesitation, he opened the 5th gate and sprinted at full speed. Just as he arrived, he saw Neji and Lee being knocked aside and Orochimaru's sword poised to strike down Tenten. In that instant, Natsuki snapped. With one devastating kick, he exploded Orochimaru's head. Chapter 111. However, that guy Orochimaru ran pretty fast. The headless corpse suddenly turned into a puddle of mud. It was Orochimaru's Doton Cage Bunshin, Earth-style, shadow clone. Luckily, Natsuki instantly locked onto Orochimaru's position again. His eyes, full of killing intent, were so icy they could almost flay Orochimaru alive from a distance. Orochimaru let out a chilling laugh. "Natsuki, you arrived just in time. If you were 1 second late, you'd be collecting your girlfriend's corpse." Natsuki was furious, but he didn't lose his composure. He clapped his hands, and in a flash, Ma-di Senran, demonic blade, thousand edge, was summoned from his left hand. Yet he didn't rush to attack. Instead, he turned and looked at Tenten. Tenten's eyes lit up with joy. "Natsuki, you finally came. Don't worry, I'm okay. Neji and Lee were protecting me the whole time." Lee weakly gave a thumbs up. "Natsuki, I've fulfilled my promise to you, right?" Though it was Neji's first time doing so, he also raised his thumb. "Tenten's unharmed, so rest assured." Thank you." Natsuki sincerely thanked them. "Leave the rest to me. Tenten, get them out of here. Don't get caught up in the fight." Tenten didn't dare delay. She quickly helped Lee and Neji retreat. Natsuki turned back to Orochimaru, his tone icy cold. "Orochimaru, thought of your last words yet?" Orochimaru sneered. "You really think you can kill me?" Natsuki nodded. "Tenten and the others won't leave me behind. So I must defeat you." "Perfect. Today, I'll go all out and show you, one of the so-called Sunin, what I'm truly capable of. Then come." Orochimaru shouted, taking the initiative to charge forward. Natsuki vanished with Raiden Shunshin, lightning style, flicker, reappearing at Orochimaru's side. His Kyrikazu no Tachi, crack blade, slashed toward Orochimaru's head. Having suffered before, Orochimaru didn't block with the Kusanagi sword but twisted his body to evade. He countered with Sen'i Jashu, hidden shadow snake hands, but Natsuki reversed his grip and severed all the snakes with a single swing. The two clashed fiercely, swords met blades, but Natsuki's Ma-di Senran, demonic blade, thousand edge, ignored defense, changing length at will, splitting and reuniting freely. With precise chakra control and Hotaki Ry Kenjutsu, Hotaki-style swordsmanship, he was clearly dominating. Scatter! With a flick, Natsuki shattered the thousand edges blade. Thousands of shards enveloped Orochimaru, instantly turning the snake into a pincushion. Then, by channeling chakra back into the hilt, Natsuki recalled all the fragments and reformed the Kairakazu no Tachi. Everyone behind was stunned, amazed by the battle style of Ma-di Senran. Even Sasuke's eyes carried envy. Ma-di Senran! What a blade! Tenten proudly added. Natsuki designed that sword himself. He nearly drove the master blacksmith bald making it. If my family wasn't rich, we wouldn't have dared to make such a weapon. So money again. Truly, wealth makes anything possible. Sasuke silently noted it in his heart. He wasn't exactly well off himself, he couldn't even afford 10,000 explosive tags. Ever since the Uchiha clan was exterminated, their assets had mysteriously vanished. Some said Itaka took them, others claimed the Konoha higher UPS seized them. Sasuke had been too focused on revenge to care at the time. But now, he realized. That was the Uchiha clan's legacy. How could he have overlooked it? If he hadn't, maybe he wouldn't be broke now. Meanwhile, Orochimaru once again used Hebai Kawarimi no Jutsu, snake substitution technique, slithering out of his own mouth. Looking grim, he quickly formed hand seals. You're a tough opponent. Looks like I'll need help. Kukiyos no Jutsu. Summoning technique. Boom. A massive purple serpent appeared. Again, Orochimaru? You're bothering me? This time, no less than 100 humans for food. Standing atop the serpent's head, Orochimaru laughed. Small matter. Manda, help me deal with this guy first. Manda. He actually summoned Manda. Natsuki's expression didn't change. He rapidly formed hand seals with his left hand, then raised it above his head. A 2-meter-wide water disc spun furiously in his palm. It crackled ominously, as if it could slice through the heavens. Manda opened its bloody maw to strike, but Natsuki hurled the disc straight at it. Suten, Suiensatsu. Water style, water disc slash. Zzz. The spinning water blade shrieked through the air and landed on Manda's head. In the next second, a sound like scissors slicing cloth rang out, the disc cut from head to tail. Manda was split in two on the spot. Dead on the spot. Poor Manda. In the original story, it was blown up by Sasuke. Now it was even worse, bisected into snake jerky by Natsuki's one move, without even getting the chance to retreat to Rika Cave. Boom! The giant snake's two halves slammed into the ground. Orochimaru jumped down immediately, his face dark for the first time. Hat! Seems I underestimated you. You've already mastered the fusion of chakra shape transformation and nature transformation. That Suiensatsu, it could probably cleave a mountain. The onlookers were even more stunned. Even Tenten didn't seem to know. Shape transformation? Nature transformation? They didn't understand, but they did see that Suiensatsu was powerful. That terrifying purple serpent had been sliced in an instant, and even Orochimaru was rattled. Natsuki was truly incredible. Natsuki chuckled. If I don't show some real skills, how can I protect my future wife? Orochimaru, today is your day to die. With that, he charged forward again. Orochimaru didn't want to keep fighting in close quarters. He drove the Kusanagi sword into the ground and quickly formed seals. Fiton, De Tapa. Wind style, great breakthrough. Boom. A blast of wind shot from his mouth, aiming to blow Natsuki away. But with Raiden Shunshin, Natsuki evaded easily and reappeared right beside him. Orochimaru immediately used Sen'i Tajashu, multiple hidden shadow snake hands, launching a serpent from his chest to bind Natsuki, but it was cut apart by the Raken, lightning blade, forcing Orochimaru to retreat. Sen'i Jashu. Fiton, Kamikiri. Wind style, wind cutter. Doton, Doriden. Earth style, earth dragon bullet. Orochimaru truly knew a wide range of jutsu, and they were all stronger than usual. A lesser shinobi would have been crushed already. But Natsuki was no ordinary shinobi. Facing the intense barrage, he used Raiden Shunshin to evade effortlessly, completely unscathed. In between dodging, he even found time to form a one-handed seal. Doton, Shiten Tenten Damakoma. Earth style, soaring spinning giant top. A giant spinning top formed from earth shot out of the ground and soared into the sky before slamming down toward Orochimaru, blasting open a massive hole in the terrain. But Orochimaru dodged, and tried a sneak attack by extending the Kusanagi sword, only for Natsuki to parry it. Their fierce exchange continued in a blur. The battle was so intense, one could hardly keep up. Yet for those able to follow it was clear. Orochimaru was being thoroughly suppressed by Natsuki. Chapter 112. No wonder he's the boss, he's incredible. Raine's voice suddenly rang out as he arrived with Megami and Pakun. Tenten's eyes lit up. You're here. Megami, quick, help us out. Megami rushed over without hesitation. She first checked Tenten and confirmed she was fine, then began treating the others. After all, she knew very well how much her boss worried about his future wife. As she performed Shinjutsu, mystical palm technique, the injuries of Neji, Lee, and Sasuke gradually stabilized. With some ointment and proper rest, they'd be fine. As for Naruto, he was only unconscious with some minor injuries, breathing steadily, no danger at all. Sakura clenched her fists again, frustrated. She had also gone to the hospital to study medical ninjutsu, but the time was too short. She couldn't even save a fish yet. At most, she could bandage wounds, and that was about it. Useless. She was still nothing but a burden. Fortunately, no one noticed her expression. Everyone's attention was focused on Natsuki and Orochimaru's fierce battle. Even if they couldn't see every move clearly, they could grasp the situation. Natsuki, with his powerful swordsmanship and combinations like Sui and Satsu, Water Disc Slash, and Doton Koma, Earth-style Spinning Top, was steadily suppressing Orochimaru. Orochimaru had many jutsus too, but aside from Wind and Earth styles, most of his moves revolved around snakes, tricky to deal with, but still ineffective against Natsuki. After all, Natsuki's attacks weren't just fast and strong, their range was large too. Several times, Orochimaru barely managed to dodge, or had to use Hebai Kawarimi no Jutsu, snake substitution technique. He clearly couldn't gain the upper hand. Now that Manda was dead, even summoning other snakes would be pointless. Orochimaru had to rely on the Kusanagi sword's traits to contend with Natsuki, but he hadn't achieved his objective yet, and was growing increasingly anxious. Natsuki didn't want to keep dragging this out either. But killing Orochimaru wasn't easy for now, he could only suppress him. In that case, I'll go big. Natsuki's eyes flashed. After forcing Orochimaru back, he didn't follow up immediately. Instead, he sheathed Ma-di Senrin and took a deep breath. His chakra began to surge violently. Hachiman Tonk. 8 gates released formation, gate of view, Kai. Buzz. A green chakra whirlwind engulfed his body, lifting his hair, making him look like a super saiyan. Lee was stunned. He actually opened the 6th gate. That's risky. Tenten and Neji couldn't hide their worry. Team 7 might not know, but Team Guy was very familiar with the 8 gates. Opening the 3rd gate didn't harm the body, but from the 4th onward, the toll grew massive. Opening the 6th gate directly was pushing it. Orochimaru grew cautious. The 8 gates, and you went straight to the 6th. I have to say, I'm impressed. Natsuki couldn't be bothered to reply. In the next instant, he vanished. When he reappeared, he was right in front of Orochimaru, delivering a punch that sent him flying into the sky. So fast. No, too late. Orochimaru wanted to resist, but he underestimated Natsuki's speed. Natsuki appeared before him again midair, unleashing a series of punches. Each one caused shockwaves and frictional flames, forming fiery bursts across the sky. To the onlookers, it was like witnessing a magnificent display, fire spreading like a peacock fanning its feathers. Asa Kyojaku. Morning Peacock, Aura 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 Aura. Each punch was faster and heavier than the last. Orochimaru had no time to counter, his body was charred, and he kept coughing up blood. This was clearly his real body. He didn't even have the chance to use Hebai Kawarimi no Jutsu. Natsuki was too fast, not giving him any opening. At this point, he could only hope he wouldn't be killed. Boom! The final punch smashed Orochimaru down to the ground, creating a massive crater. He lay there like a dead snake, motionless. But Natsuki didn't relax. He deactivated the 8 gates and remained alert, staring at the pit. Sure enough, moments later, Orochimaru stirred. He dragged himself up with great effort and vomited a mouthful of blood. He didn't even attempt another substitution jutsu. Ha, he. He was still laughing, a dry, grating laugh that made everyone uncomfortable. Subarashii. Subarashii, Natsuki-kun. I didn't expect you to be this strong. You really held back when you fought in front of others, didn't you? Well, it's about time I left. Until next time. With a poof, he vanished again. Natsuki extended his senses, confirming Orochimaru was gone. Only then did he breathe a deep sigh of relief, visibly exhausted. Tenten ran over and hugged him tightly. After checking him over and seeing he had only light injuries, she relaxed. Still, she called Megami over to heal him. Natsuki flicked Tenten's forehead. I told you to run if you ran into Orochimaru. Why didn't you listen? Tenten quickly clung to his arm and acted spoiled. Come on, don't be mad, I couldn't just stand by and watch our fellow villagers get hurt. Besides, I held on for a long time. Long enough for you to show up, didn't I? Darling, don't be mad, okay? Please. Eek. That sounded way too cheesy. Since when did Tenten know how to act all cutesy? Natsuki had no choice. A girlfriend like this could only be spoiled, what else could he do? Just then, another noise came from the forest. Everyone tensed, but to their relief, Kakashi and Anko emerged. Sakura exclaimed. Kakashi-sensei, Anko-san, you scared us. Sorry. Everyone okay? Kakashi looked around at the devastated battlefield. It was obvious a major fight had taken place. Thankfully, all the students seemed safe. Naruto had passed out, but he didn't look seriously hurt. Anko clenched her teeth. It was Orochimaru, wasn't it? He really was hiding in the forest. Yo, Kakashi. Late again, hey. Pakun greeted him casually. Oh, Pakun, you're here too? Looks like you helped guide them. Good job. Kakashi praised lazily, then asked Pakun to explain the situation. Pakun, used to this by now, gave a quick summary, basically, how Team 7 and Team Guy had encountered Orochimaru, and he had helped find them. Natsuki then arrived in time and forcefully defeated Orochimaru. Sakura also pitched in, mostly describing how Team 7 was in danger, how Team Guy came to their rescue, how Sasuke fought bravely, and how Natsuki arrived just in time. Her account was detailed, though this seemed to be the only way she could contribute. Chapter 113. Kakashi and Anko were even more surprised by Natsuki. Back when they were near the Forest of Death's Edge and Natsuki had detected and held off Orochimaru, that was already impressive enough to prove his strength. But now they realized he had been holding back all along. Only now, when forced to go all out, did they see he actually had the strength to defeat Orochimaru. Truly formidable. Kakashi smiled. Looks like Guy and I didn't pick the wrong person. Teaching you Kenjutsu and the 8 gates was the right call. You've taken what we taught and used it to protect your comrades and repel a powerful enemy. You're now a capable shinobi who can stand on his own. Honestly, your strength has already surpassed mine. Natsuki quickly waved his hand. Kakashi-senpai, you flatter me too much. I still have a long way to go. I need to get stronger. He wouldn't dare claim to be stronger than Kakashi. Kakashi still had the Manjiki Sharingan and its Kamui that he hadn't even used yet. Without learning Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, Natsuki had no way to contend with Kamui. Seeing Natsuki's humility, Kakashi nodded approvingly. This kid had a good character, modest and driven. A truly good kid. Kakashi added. Since you're all safe, continue the exam. Anko and I can't help any further, that'd be against the rules. But we'll go after Orochimaru. He shouldn't have another chance to cause trouble, so don't worry. With that, he exchanged a glance with Anko, and the two of them sped off in the direction Orochimaru had fled. Natsuki and the others didn't linger either. They soon found a hidden spot to rest. Tenten brought out a scroll and summoned a bunch of food, distributing it around. Everyone eagerly dug in to replenish their strength. Only with full energy could they continue the exam. Oh right. I tried to summon Burdra earlier, but it failed. Natsuki brought it up. Instead, I summoned a young hawk, who told me Burdra had been injured. That's how I realized things weren't going well on your end, so I rushed here at full speed. Good thing I made it in time. Tenten immediately looked worried. Burdra was ambushed by Orochimaru, pierced right through by the Kusanagi sword. I hope it's okay. If Burdra hadn't been caught off guard, they would have flown off long ago. There's no way they would have been bullied by Orochimaru like that. Fortunately, Natsuki and Tenten avenged Burdra, severely injuring Orochimaru, killing 2 of his summoned snakes, and even taking down Manda. Orochimaru really took a huge loss. Thinking about that cheered Natsuki and Tenten up quite a bit. With that topic passed, the group turned to something else. So, how's your scroll collection going? Our Team 9 already has both scrolls. We can head to the tower anytime. Lee immediately raised his hand. We've got ours too. We got lucky earlier, defeated another team and got the scroll we needed. Now, all eyes turned to Sasuke and Sakura. The two immediately looked awkward. Not only had they failed to collect both scrolls, they'd also been unfortunate enough to run into Orochimaru. And Naruto was still unconscious. How were they supposed to continue the exam? Natsuki asked bluntly. Sasuke, what's your plan? Kakashi-senpai said we don't have to worry about Orochimaru attacking again, so things should proceed normally. Do you need our help? Sakura looked tempted, but quickly suppressed the thought. She'd already been useless enough. If they had to help her with the exam too, how could she still call herself a ninja? And Sasuke definitely wouldn't agree. Sure enough, Sasuke shook his head. You've already helped a lot. No need to worry about the exam. Team 7 will pass, we'll make sure of it. Team 9 and Team Guy exchanged glances and didn't object. In that case, once we've rested up, we'll head to the tower first. You guys be careful. Don't worry. Sasuke seemed to regain some confidence. Then, with a bit of awkwardness, he added. Also, thanks for everything. Sasuke, who'd always been proud, actually thanked them. It was a rare sight, but it meant he was still mentally stable. With such great help, expressing thanks was only natural. Sakura seemed to realize too and quickly said. Yeah. Thanks a lot. The two teams didn't think much of it, just waved it off. Everyone focused on resting after that. They didn't speak much, and by the next morning, they had mostly recovered. So Team 9 and Team Guy said their goodbyes. Be careful. Natsuki reminded them he knew the sound trio was still out there. Thanks. Sasuke's farewell made Natsuki pause. That word brought a wave of nostalgia to his heart. After the two teams left, Sasuke returned to his usual cold expression. He walked over and kicked Naruto. Hey! Get up! We're already behind, this isn't the time to be sleeping. Naruto slowly woke, then suddenly shouted. Orochimaru! Where's Orochimaru? Sakura immediately scolded. You're the only one who was sleeping while everyone else was fighting. You've got some nerve. Sasuke glanced at Sakura. She had no right to speak. At least Naruto had charged in to fight. Sure, something Orochimaru did knocked him out, but Sakura? She had spent the whole fight trembling in fear and couldn't even heal a wound. What right did she have to criticize Naruto? Meanwhile, Team 9 and Team Guy picked up their pace. Natsuki wasn't sure if Team 7 would face another attack from Orochimaru or if they could handle the sound trio. But since Kakashi had said it was fine, it probably was. Besides, Sasuke now was different from the original timeline. He hadn't been marked with the cursed seal, his condition was stable, and he had learned Hotaki Arwai Kenjutsu. Dealing with the sound trio shouldn't be a problem. As for Teams 8 and 10, both had solid skills. As long as they didn't run into Orochimaru or Gaara, they should be okay. And they were too far away, Natsuki couldn't help even if he wanted to. All he could do was hope for the best. After half a day of travel, with help from Pakun and Neji, they avoided unnecessary danger and successfully reached the tower. Finally, a real breath of relief. After entering the tower and submitting their scrolls, designated proctors came to greet them and gave them a lecture about the Will of Fire. After a bunch of formalities, both teams officially passed the second stage of the exam. They had 3 days of rest before the next round. Though they couldn't leave the tower, they could relax however they liked, and the place was stocked with plenty of food. Naturally, everyone indulged. That evening, Team 8 arrived successfully. Natsuki and Tenten rushed to greet Shino, their good friend. Another day passed, and Team 10 also made it, though they looked quite beaten up. Apparently, just before reaching the tower, they'd run into Team 7 being attacked by the sound trio, and stepped in to help, getting battered in the process. Chapter 114. The sound trio was no slouch among the genin. Zaku could shoot slicing sound waves from his palms, Kin used senbon bells to cast genjutsu, and Doso's gauntlet could emit powerful sonic attacks. All three had been modified far above normal standards. In the original timeline, Sakura was beaten badly by them. Even Lee's help didn't change the outcome, and Team 10 got roughed up too. It was only after Sasuke's cursed seal awakened that the tables were turned. This time, Shikamaru and Chi weren't much different from the original. Ino had started training a bit earlier, but against the sound trio, she was still on the back foot. According to Shikamaru, in the end, it was Sasuke's kenjutsu that turned the tide, and Team 10's efforts were, mostly wasted. Sasuke, hey? Looks like he's improved a lot after the fight with Orochimaru. Natsuki wasn't surprised. Some geniuses only grow rapidly through actual combat. Sasuke was one of them. As for Team 10, after learning that Natsuki had fought off Orochimaru alone, they were utterly shocked. They had clearly underestimated his strength. Still, having such a powerful comrade made them happy. If danger ever struck, they knew who to cling to. On the final day, Team 7 finally arrived in a mess along with Kabuto, Yoroi, and Misumi. Once it was confirmed no other genin were arriving, the second exam officially came to a close. Those who passed: Team 7, 3, Team 8, 3, Team 9, 3, Team 10, 3, Team Guy, 3, Sound Trio, 3, Kabuto's team, 3, and Gaara's team, 3. A total of 24 participants. Aside from the extra Team 9, the passing numbers were the same as in the original story, more than expected. The third Hokage, Hiruzen, was all smiles seeing most of the passers were from Konoha. He came out with the usual formal speech, talking about the meaning of the Chunin exams, peace in the shinobi world, basically just like a military parade, all about showing off strength. What a grand speech! Thankfully, the perpetually anemic Gek stepped in and interrupted Hiruzen's long-windedness, announcing the rules for the third exam's preliminary round. Since the third round would be watched by dignitaries, the number of participants had to be reduced, hence a prelim match. In short, a random draw for one-on-one duels to eliminate half the contestants. Anyone who wanted to drop out could do so now, before they risked being defeated. Just when everyone thought no one would back out, Kabuto raised his hand. Naruto objected at first. After all, their team had only made it this far thanks to Kabuto. But Kabuto's true motive was to gather intel on Sasuke, not to help out of kindness. Kabuto claimed he was already pineapple day, meaning worn out, and there was no point in continuing since he'd just lose anyway. Naruto had nothing left to say. Natsuki, however, watched Kabuto walk off with narrowed eyes. This guy was Orochimaru's right hand and a master manipulator. A chakra thread split from Natsuki's forehead and connected to Aoba. Through Morse code chakra pulses, he transmitted a message. Aoba-sensei, this Kabuto has failed the Chunin exams multiple times, yet he doesn't look badly injured and is giving up so easily. I suspect he's here not for the exam but to gather intelligence. He might be a spy. Aoba paused, then responded through the chakra thread. I'll keep an eye on him. You focus on the exam. Only then did Natsuki relax and turn his gaze to Gek. After explaining the rules, Heiei began announcing matchups. First match, Inyazuka Kaiba vs. Rainya. All other participants went up to the second floor to observe. Only Kaiba, Rainya, Akamaru, and Heiei, who looked like he'd cough up a lung, remained on the field. As soon as the match was called, Kaiba started trash-talking and demanded Rainya forfeit. But Rainya had no plans to give up. He even assumed a ready-to-strike stance. Seeing this, Kaiba threw out a smoke bomb to blind the field, planning to rely on smell and Akamaru's instincts to secure victory. However, the moment they entered the smoke, a horrid stench hit their noses. Akamaru immediately fainted on the spot, and Kaiba got hit hard too. As the smoke cleared, everyone saw Rainya holding an opened can of fermented herring so foul it could peel paint. Kaiba and Akamaru, who couldn't even tolerate Naruto's farts, stood no chance. With the herring assault, their defeat was inevitable. Team leader Kurane rubbed her temples. Having a strong sense of smell is useful, but sometimes, it can be fatal. Rainya clearly did his research and prepared that stinky can. Kaiba never stood a chance. Shino and Hinata didn't know what to say. All they could do was silently mourn for Kaiba. Meanwhile, Megumi was beaming proudly. Rainya's win had her glowing with pride. Second match, Yoroi vs. Sasuke Uchiha. Now that Sasuke hadn't been cursed, his chakra was stable. With his Sharingan and Hotaki-style kenjutsu, he was fast and fluid. Even though Yoroi could drain chakra, he was quickly defeated. Third match, Zaku Abumi vs. Abarame Shino wins. Fourth match, Kintsuka vs. Nara Shikamaru wins. Fifth match, Doso Kinyata vs. Akim Ichichi Doso wins. 6th match, Masumi Tsurugi vs. Kankura. Though Masumi tried to exploit his flexibility, Kankura's puppet technique won out. Even after his identity as the bandaged mummy was revealed, he secured victory. 7th match, Haruno Sakura vs. Megami no suspense. Megami wins easily. 8th match, Hyuga Hinata vs. Hyuga Neji. A classic main family vs. branch family. But Neji was different now. He didn't waste time with words. Both activated Byakugan and clashed with Hakken no Kaiten, 8 trigrams palm rotation, and Hakurokuchin SH, 8 trigrams 64 palms. Neji came out on top, blocking Hinata's chakra points and holding a kunao to her vital spot. The referee promptly declared Neji the winner. Fewer words in a fight meant a quicker end. Hinata didn't even get the chance to hear Naruto's encouragement. Luckily, Neji was no longer the cold jerk from the original story. He'd even helped fight Orochimaru earlier. So Naruto had no reason to yell at him and no unnecessary drama followed. The good news? Hinata wasn't seriously hurt. 9th match, Temari vs. Tenten. This, to Natsuki, was a battle of destiny. Temari's giant fan and wind techniques originally countered Tenten's weapon-throwing style. But Tenten had grown once she saw her ranged attacks were countered, she shifted strategies. She used Rokushiki, 6 powers, close combat instead. Without even using her 4-piece kit from the artisan village, she successfully took Temari down. Chapter 115. Temari had always been confident. She probably never imagined she would lose. For a moment, she couldn't accept the result. But if one looked at her fighting style, it was clear her wind-based jutsu with the fan excelled at long-range combat. Once it came to close quarters, she was at a disadvantage. Coupled with Tenten's impressive taijutsu, defeating Temari wasn't difficult at all. Natsuki, however, cast a thoughtful glance at Shikamaru. Originally, it was supposed to be Shikamaru who fought Temari in the finals. That battle would have been the start of their bond, one that eventually led to a relationship born through cooperation and mutual understanding. But now, Temari had lost to Tenten. Shikamaru's future wife might be gone. Still, Natsuki didn't intend to interfere. If Shikamaru and Temari were truly meant to be, fate would eventually pull them together again. Then came the 10th match, Uzumaki Naruto vs. Natsuki. Naruto stared at the board in disbelief. He was stunned. How could he be this unlucky? Of all people, he had to face the strongest? How could he possibly win? After all, Natsuki had defeated Orochimaru by himself, while Naruto had only exchanged one blow with the man before passing out. The difference in strength was clear. There didn't even seem to be a point in fighting. Shikamaru spoke up bluntly. Naruto, just give up. The outcome's already decided. The others looked at Naruto with the same eyes. They didn't say anything, but Naruto knew what they meant. And strangely, that just made him more defiant. I know Natsuki's strong. But how can I say I'll lose if I haven't even tried? Date Bao. He was always like this, blindly confident, believing courage alone could overcome anything. And to be fair, that tactic only worked at the very end of the story. That's how he beat Neji. That's how he beat Nagato. That's how he even moved Obito. But why didn't it work on Kaguya? Because Kaguya didn't care about talking, she just obliterated anyone in her way. And in this moment, Natsuki wasn't in the mood to talk either. In a flash of Raiden Shunshin, lightning style, flicker, he appeared in the center of the field. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He just stared at Naruto until Naruto felt a chill. But the words had already been said. Naruto had no choice but to step onto the battlefield. Natsuki. I'm going to give it everything I've got. I won't lose. Date Bao. Trying to fire off a good ol talk no jutsu, or maybe just psych himself up. But Natsuki just stared at him silently, saying nothing. Naruto felt the awkwardness rise. Thankfully, Gek called for the match to begin. Naruto immediately used Toge Bunshin no Jutsu, multi-shadow clone jutsu, summoning dozens of clones to swarm Natsuki. But chakra threads were already glowing at Natsuki's fingertips. In a flash of Raiden Shunshin, Natsuki zipped through the shadow clones, weaving his threads with precision, wrapping each one before looping behind Naruto's back. All the Narutos turned around, confused just in time to see Natsuki yank his hands back. The chakra threads instantly tightened. All the shadow clones collided into each other and exploded in a chain reaction. In the blink of an eye, the battlefield was clear. Naruto blinked, confused. His clones were all gone? Before he could react further, he realized he couldn't move. His body was wrapped tightly in chakra threads. Natsuki didn't explain a thing. He simply stepped forward, threw a punch, and knocked Naruto to the ground. And before Hayate could say anything, he sat on Naruto's back, kunai aimed directly at his head. Finally, Gek cleared his throat. Enough. Winner, Natsuki. Hey. Naruto was dumbfounded. He knew Natsuki was strong, but this strong? He didn't even see how he lost. 1 second, clones next second, gone. What just happened? At last, Natsuki explained. See these chakra threads on my fingers? You're always reckless and don't pay attention. While I was moving through your clones, I looped the threads around them. When I pulled them tight, it was like setting off a trap. They all crashed together and poofed. Ah! Natsuki, that's amazing. Naruto couldn't help but admire him, but then he remembered how fast he lost and looked a bit down again. Natsuki just smiled and unraveled the chakra threads. That was the way to handle it. Don't talk too much during the fight. Just subdue the opponent, step on them, and aim a kunai at their head. The referee has to declare victory. Then talk afterward. That's the proper way. As Natsuki and Naruto returned to the viewing platform, Shikamaru leaned against the wall. Told you. The outcome was obvious. Should have just surrendered and saved yourself the trouble. Naruto couldn't come up with a comeback because anything a loser said would sound hollow. Thankfully, Natsuki threw him a lifeline. Don't say it like that, Shikamaru. Winning and losing is one thing, having the courage to step into the ring is another. At the very least, Naruto had the guts to fight me. That's worth something. Naruto immediately perked up. Exactly. I've got plenty of courage. Date bail. Shikamaru rolled his eyes. He knew Natsuki was giving Naruto away to save face. And only a blockhead like Naruto wouldn't realize it. Next came the 11th match, Rock Lee vs. Gaara. Here it was another fated battle. But could Lee actually win? Right now, Lee had re-equipped his ankle weights. Maybe it was because he had protected his teammates in the Forest of Death and earned praise from Guy, but he was brimming with confidence. Facing Gaara, Lee raised his bandaged fists, his eyes filled with unshakable resolve. But fate, it seemed, was playing a cruel joke. Lee's attacks couldn't break Gaara's defenses. Even when he dropped his weights and boosted his speed, he still couldn't beat him. Then came the shocker. Lee opened the 5th gate of the Hachiman Tonk, 8 gates released formation. The sheer power stunned everyone watching. He cracked through Gaara's sand armor and came close to seriously injuring him. But opening the 5th gate came at a steep price. Lee, after his blazing assault, was left battered and broken. In the end, a furious Gaara tried to kill him with his sand. Fortunately, Guy intervened just in time, stopping the sand from crushing Lee's body. Though Lee's life was saved, the match was lost. Still, despite the pain and unconsciousness, Lee stood back up. Everyone watching was stunned. His will to fight, even in that state, was awe-inspiring. But soon, the bad news followed. Lee's injuries were severe. With Konoha's current medical capabilities, he might never be able to be a ninja again. Chapter 116. Natsuki, how could this happen? Lee, he. Tenten's eyes welled up with tears, her face full of disbelief. Natsuki said nothing. He simply reached out and pulled Tenten into his arms. Neji took a long moment to process the news. Then he clenched his fists and spoke solemnly. Lee gave everything he had to prove his ninja way. He was literally fighting with his life to make his dream come true. Yet, because it was a dream that required giving everything, Lee's indomitable spirit was truly shocking. But now, his condition only made it all the more heartbreaking. As if destiny had never allowed resistance in the first place. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura all felt sorrow in their hearts too. Not long ago, they'd been fighting side by side in the Forest of Death. And now, Lee was like this. Without him, the future would feel more lonely. Watching Tenten cry so bitterly, Natsuki quickly used a chakra thread to connect their foreheads and tapped a secret message in Morse code. Don't panic. Did you forget what I gave you? Tenten blinked in confusion, then her eyes lit up with surprise. You mean, the Senzu bean? Natsuki nodded slightly. Keep it quiet. Keep hugging me and pretend you're crying. Don't let anyone notice. The senzu bean can restore someone instantly, and since Li's injuries weren't to his soul, he would fully recover the moment he took it. But, it wasn't time yet. Don't be in a rush to give it to Li, Natsuki said softly. This guy pushed himself too recklessly. Chasing your dreams with everything you've got is admirable, sure. But if he goes around damaging himself like this, he'll be crippled or even dead before he even gets close to those dreams. This has to be a lesson for him. Let him suffer for a while, let him learn how to take care of himself. He'll value his body more once he recovers. Don't you think? Tenten nodded. You're right. He really scared all of us this time. Natsuki continued. We absolutely have to keep the senzu bean a secret. Otherwise, some bad people might target you or my dad, and if I get forced to hand them over, that'd be a disaster. We'll wait and I'll sneak it to Li myself when the time comes. Meanwhile, act like you're still worried. Don't let anyone catch on. Tenten, of course, obeyed. Now that she knew Li could be saved, her sorrow faded. She also realized just how valuable the senzu bean was, and she understood how important it was to protect their families. So acting? She could totally do that. Natsuki finally breathed a sigh of relief. He'd managed to comfort his girlfriend. He hadn't stopped Li earlier, nor interfered, because he had the senzu bean as a safety net. Besides, with Li's personality, he wouldn't have listened anyway. Even if Natsuki tried to stop him, he would have just gone all out regardless. That's why Natsuki didn't waste his breath or get involved. Now that Li had gone through it, he'd remember the pain and hopefully learn to treasure himself more in the future. As for Guy, let him mourn for a while too. After all, Li's recklessness had a lot to do with him. Let him cry it out. Back to the tournament. Only Yamanaka Ino was left without an opponent, so she advanced by default. She was thrilled. Sometimes, luck is a skill too. After all, why wasn't it someone else who got the free pass? With that, the second exam had finally concluded. The 12 who made it through were Yamashiro Rinya, Uchiha Sasuke, Abarame Shino, Nara Shikamaru, Psu, Kankar, Kat Megami, Hyuga Neji, Tenten, Natsuki, Gaara, and Yamanaka Ino. 12 in total, just right to form 6 matchups. From there, the top 3 would be determined, and then they'd compete for first place. In reality, the final ranking didn't matter much. What mattered was how well one performed in the finals. That would earn recognition from high-level figures. Even those who lost might still be promoted to Chunin based on their performance. Before everyone left, the finalists had to draw lots for the match order. The results were: Group 1, Abarame Shino vs. Kankar. Group 2, Kat Megami vs. Yamanaka Ino. Group 3, Yamashiro Rinya vs. Nara Shikamaru. Group 4, Tenten vs. Tsukaji. Group 5, Hyuga Neji vs. Uchiha Sasuke. Group 6, Natsuki vs. Gaara. Natsuki was a little surprised. He hadn't expected to face Gaara last. That meant every other group would get a proper chance to shine before the final showdown. Gaara was a key piece in the Konoha Crush plan. If he lost control, the plan would trigger. Thankfully, their fight was scheduled last. If the battle caused Gaara to snap, at least the others would have already had their turn. Otherwise, they'd be crying over the missed opportunity. He felt killing intent. Natsuki turned his head. Gaara was staring at him. That sleep-deprived redhead. Even after witnessing Natsuki fight Orochimaru, he still thought he could kill him? Maybe he just thought Orochimaru was weak. Either way, it was fine. He'd just beat him so hard he'd start questioning his life choices. With the draw over, everyone was dismissed. The finals were set for 1 month later, mainly because the Kazekage and 2 feudal lords were visiting Konoha. It would take time to prepare the venue and the fanfare. Just 1 month, everyone could wait. It was also the perfect window to keep training and grow even stronger. Natsuki and Tenten held hands as they joined their friends on a trip to Konoha Hospital to check on Li. Seeing him unconscious on the bed, no one said a word. Originally, Chiji had suggested a celebration at Natsuki's house after the exams. But now, no one was in the mood. Guy was by Li's side, eyes red from crying. Who knew how devastated he must have been? After all, Li resembled him the most. He was the student Guy had poured the most effort into like a son. Now that Lee had ended up like this, how could he not be heartbroken? Tenten couldn't help but feel sorry. She gently squeezed Natsuki's palm. But Natsuki shook his head. Now wasn't the time to be soft. Lee needed to learn this lesson. Just wait a few more days. Guy had also heard the tournament results. He forced a smile and said, Tenten, Neji, you two did great. Use this next month well. Train hard and shine in the finals. Lee is in good hands with the doctors. You don't need to worry about him. Focus on your training and win. Yes, Guy-sensei. Tenten and Neji replied firmly, then quietly left the hospital. Natsuki and Tenten stopped by the ninja tools shop on the way. After a meal with the shop owner, they returned to Natsuki's house. The old man turned red with rage, but he couldn't stop them. Natsuki, are you sure the senzu bean will work? Tenten still looked worried. Relax. It'll be fine. You don't trust me. Natsuki smiled and patted her twin buns. Of course I do. But I'm just worried, you know? Lee's biggest dream is to prove himself. He gave everything, and this is what happened. He must be feeling so crushed right now. Natsuki didn't reply. He just listened quietly. The truth was, if not for Natsuki, Tenten might have started to doubt whether hard work even mattered. She might have believed that ordinary people could never defeat geniuses. She might have even grown to resent Tsunade. It would have taken her a long time to heal from that. In this world, being normal was truly hard. If Natsuki hadn't had his cheat, he probably would have ended up like many others, forgotten and defeated. Chapter 117. The next day, Natsuki and Tenten finally got to sleep in. So much had happened recently that both of them were mentally exhausted, but things had finally calmed down a little. Still, they got up before noon. After a sweet and cozy lunch together, they went their separate ways. Tenten went to visit Lee at the hospital, while Natsuki planned to find a peaceful spot to relax and clear his mind. He wanted to empty his thoughts and unwind so that he could later dive fully into researching the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. But before he could find the perfect place, Kakashi came looking for him. Yo! Kakashi-senpai, taking it easy today. Natsuki greeted. Not even close, Kakashi replied, his dead fish eyes looking extra tired. Just finished with the exams, and now we're rushing to prepare for the Daimi's visit. I've barely touched the ground. Then what brings you here? I'm here to ask about Orochimaru. Kakashi got straight to the point. Back then, I rushed to pursue Orochimaru with Anko and didn't get the chance to properly ask about what happened. I heard from Pakun that you were pretty certain he would appear, and once inside the Forest of Death, you seemed worried he'd make a move on everyone. Natsuki was silent for a while. In the end, he chose not to hide it. Orochimaru, he seems to have some kind of connection to Itaki. He came to Konoha for Sasuke. Itaki? And Orochimaru's target is Sasuke? Kakashi's expression turned grave. Explain. Natsuki grew serious as well. I had a gut feeling, or maybe just a strong hunch, that Orochimaru would appear in the Forest of Death. He disguised himself as a female Kyuzagaku ninja just to get in, right? Even before I exposed him, I had been watching him closely. His gaze kept drifting toward Sasuke. I suspected he was targeting him, but I had no proof, so I didn't say anything afterward. And sure enough, he went after Team 7. Sasuke said later that Orochimaru mentioned Itaki and said he was disappointed in Sasuke, as if he were testing him or something. Tenten also told me that when Guy's team arrived to help, Orochimaru had extended his neck and was about to bite Sasuke. It probably had something to do with that test. Kakashi now understood clearly Orochimaru really had come for Sasuke. Even though he still didn't know how Itaki was involved, it was undeniable that Sasuke was in danger. Orochimaru could be hiding somewhere, ready to strike again at any moment. Kakashi immediately said his goodbyes. I'm off. Kakashi-senpai. Natsuki suddenly called out, protect Sasuke. Kakashi waved without looking back and didn't give any promises. Maybe he wasn't confident after all, Orochimaru was incredibly strong and slippery. Natsuki just sighed. He wasn't the type to meddle too much. It was just a moment of sympathy. Sasuke really had terrible luck. But he hadn't intervened beyond that. He had decided long ago to respect the fate of the so-called savior. If Sasuke weren't a friend, he wouldn't have even spoken up. He just hoped Sasuke would be okay. Natsuki eventually found a grassy field and lay down to soak up some sun. When it got too hot, he moved to the shade of a tree and continued lying there. It was peaceful. His mind, which had been restless for so long, finally found some quiet. If only Tenten were here soft and fragrant to hold while napping, it would be perfect. But instead of Tenten, he got Shikamaru. You've got a good eye for spots, Natsuki, Shikamaru said, lying not far away. You too, Natsuki replied, not even glancing at him. I always do this, find a good spot to lie down, stare at the clouds, and envy how free they are. But for you to be out here like this, you must be exhausted to need such rest. It was rare for Shikamaru to ramble on like this. Maybe he was just sharing his dream. Natsuki didn't reply. He simply squinted up at the drifting clouds. Deep down, he was a little envious of Shikamaru. Being born into a major clan really was great, no worries, no hardships. If he wanted to lie down all day, he could. He could be a lazy bum his whole life. If one could live in peace forever, who would willingly choose a life of hardship? If the world weren't so dangerous, Natsuki wouldn't be pushing himself this hard to grow stronger. Sure, being an ordinary villager didn't sound bad. But in a twisted, chaotic world, if you couldn't control your own fate, then once disaster hit, all that awaited you was helplessness and despair. Like during the Nine Tails attack, so many villagers were crushed to death by debris from a single swing of its tail, dying without meaning or value. Natsuki didn't want that kind of ending. That's why he had to grow stronger. Konoha's destruction was coming, and after that, the terrifying Akatsuki would spread chaos everywhere. The age of peace was ending, the era of war was about to begin. So today's rare bit of laziness might be the last of its kind for a while. He lay there for a long time. When the sun started dipping westward, he figured it was time to buy groceries. He got up, stretched hard, and felt incredibly refreshed. Seeing Shikamaru still lying down, he said, "Shikamaru, your dream of being a lazy bum might sound nice, but the world isn't that stable. I have a feeling things are going to get chaotic. Only those with true strength can protect what they care about. So don't slack off too much, train when you can." With that, he turned and left. Shikamaru sat up and squinted as he watched Natsuki walk away. He couldn't explain why, but Natsuki's words felt serious, not like a joke. TCH, such a drag. What's wrong with peace? Why does everything have to fall into chaos? Even as he grumbled, Shikamaru stood up and started heading home. He figured maybe it was time he started training again too. If his coordination with Ino fell apart, she'd definitely beat him up. Besides, from the look of it, Tsunagakura's attitude during the exams wasn't exactly friendly. That left him a little uneasy. After Natsuki finished shopping, he went straight to the ninja tool shop to cook. Just as he finished making dinner, Tenten returned. The three of them happily ate together like a family. But just after they finished eating, Natsuki suddenly said, "Tenten, for the 1 month before the final round, I'm going to focus completely on mastering the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. I'll probably only show up for dinner. I won't have time for anything else." Tenten understood Natsuki's urgency, she was feeling it too. So she wasn't surprised. She even offered, "Then maybe you shouldn't bother coming for dinner either. I'll bring food to you in the evening." No need for that. Natsuki smiled and refused. "Even if I'm focusing on training, always thinking about it gets tiring. I need to shift my focus sometimes to let my brain rest. Plus, I really enjoy having meals together as a family, it makes me happy." Chapter 118. Hearing Natsuki say that, Tenten didn't object. She also loved having meals together as a family. Chatting with her dad and her future husband over dinner made everything feel light and joyful, as if all the day's fatigue just melted away. Besides, she was secretly worried about Natsuki overusing his brain. Rumor had it that kind of stress could lead to white hair. So, it was best to follow Natsuki's plan. The shop owner said, "From now on, I'll take care of grocery shopping and cooking. You two just focus on what you need to do." "Thanks, Oyaji," Natsuki replied without being polite. They were all familiar enough now that courtesy was unnecessary. Still, Natsuki glanced at his father-in-law. He figured it might be a good idea to send him on a trip before the final exams began, preferably to the capital of the Land of Fire, which was safer. Once the Konoha destruction plan began, it could affect more than just the village, and Natsuki didn't want Tenten to become an orphan. After dinner, Natsuki pulled Tenten into their room. He held her close and gave her a sweet kiss. When the time came, he reluctantly left the ninja tools shop and returned home. Back at his house, he shut all the windows and doors, then headed straight into the gravity training chamber. He first took a brisk walk for half an hour, then activated 15 times gravity and began his nightly training. Yes, 15x gravity. He had grown used to 10x, but the human body in this world didn't gain physical strength as quickly as he'd hoped. Even training under such heavy conditions wasn't producing massive results. So Natsuki kept increasing the gravity level. He was confident that with a full month, he could push his body to a new level and elevate his chakra as well. Of course, that was just his daily regimen. The main focus for the month was mastering the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. There were less than 10 days until the first of the next month. He needed to fully internalize the Flying Thunder God formula. Once the special lab was activated on the first, he could finally begin bold experiments with the jutsu. If it didn't work out, he could always try again next month. By then, Tsunade might have returned. Pushing away such stray thoughts, Natsuki focused on completing his daily training routine. Afterward, he moved on to creating and refining the Flying Thunder God formula, practicing to the point that he could inscribe it instantly. Only then would he be able to leave a chakra imprint on a target in the blink of an eye, essential for executing the jutsu properly in combat. When midnight approached, he immediately stopped all research and training, and obediently went to bed. The next morning, he returned to the gravity chamber for his morning workout. But he was no longer doing basic chores like delivering milk or digging holes. Now he was lifting massive boulders while doing handstands, climbing cliffs with weighted gear, swimming under heavy resistance, and engaging in underwater combat. The exercises were intense and varied, but he could handle them all with ease. After morning training came breakfast, ensuring his energy and nutrition needs were met. Then it was back to the chamber for the day's main task, researching the Flying Thunder God. He even schemed over lunch. When evening arrived, he'd take a proper bath, rest a bit, and then head to Tenten's house for dinner. This routine continued for several days, quickly becoming a stable pattern. Thankfully, no visitors came during this time, and no one disturbed him, allowing him to stay focused. But one evening after dinner, Tenten shared some news. Sasuke ran into Orochimaru. It happened in the evening, on his way home after training. Orochimaru suddenly appeared and bit into his shoulder. Before leaving, he said it was a test for Sasuke. According to Kakashi-senpai, Orochimaru left a cursed seal on Sasuke that messes with his chakra and causes terrible pain when activated. As expected, Orochimaru wasn't going to give up that easily. He failed to succeed in the Forest of Death, but clearly still had his eyes on Sasuke's body. That so-called test was probably only the beginning. And to make things worse, Konoha's defenses were full of holes. Multiple sweeps and inspections had failed to catch Orochimaru, and yet he could still strut around the village as he pleased. He clearly didn't see the Konoha shinobi as a threat. This was the result of the Uchiha clan's destruction. If the Uchiha were still around and responsible for security, the village wouldn't be in this sorry state, its defense wouldn't be so lax and riddled with flaws. But now, it was too late. The Uchiha massacre was a complex matter, with blame on all sides. It didn't matter who was right or wrong anymore. What mattered was that the village's security had collapsed. And what was Kakashi even doing? He'd known for a while that Orochimaru was after Sasuke, and yet he still failed to protect him. Sigh. Another round of suffering begins for Sasuke. How is Sasuke doing now? Natsuki asked. Kakashi-sensei sealed the cursed mark, but if Sasuke becomes emotionally unstable, the seal could break and cause him serious harm, Tenten replied with worry in her voice. They weren't particularly close to Sasuke, but he had come over to play cards and share meals before. And during the Forest of Death trial, they'd fought side by side. At this point, calling him a friend wasn't a stretch. Of course she was worried. Natsuki could only comfort her, at least Sasuke's still alive, that's already a good thing. He's a genius of the Uchiha. A cursed seal like this shouldn't be able to stop him. Tenten understood he was trying to console her. Right now, that was the only thing they could hold onto. Days passed. Then, at last, the first of the month arrived. Natsuki prepared thoroughly during the day, and once it hit 7 p.m., he immediately flashed into the special lab to begin intense Flying Thunder God training. First, leave the formula on a kunao, then throw it away. Let's start with 2 meters. Now, sense the formula's position, connect to it with my consciousness. Yes, good, I can feel it at close range. Now let's try the teleport. Whoosh! Thud! Natsuki slammed into the ground, his body aching. It felt like he had passed through some unique dimension at high speed. He couldn't see anything around him and had no time to sense the spatial forces. He even got slightly injured by them. When he came to, he had landed near the kunao bearing the formula. In other words, he had performed the Hiraishin no jutsu, but couldn't fully control it. It was dangerous. Also, his reactions weren't fast enough. He couldn't respond even after arriving. That would be fatal in a real fight. Again. This time let's try 5 meters. Whoosh! Thud! Ah! Damn, that hurt. It's like trying to squeeze through a door crack. The space scraped my skin. It's way too dangerous. TCH, again. I won't give up until I master it. Whoosh! Thud! Whoosh! Thud! Whoosh! Haha! I landed on my feet this time. Making progress. Let's keep going. Natsuki was completely immersed in the training. The more he practiced, the smoother he became. There were occasional slip-ups, but his teleportation distance was gradually increasing. The improvement was obvious. Chapter 119. Natsuki took a deep breath, carved the Hiraishin no jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, formula onto a kunao, and threw it over 100 meters away. Then, holding a shuriken laced with his chakra, he connected it to the formula, and in the next second, the shuriken instantly appeared beside the kunao with the mark. The Hiraishin no jutsu allowed either the user or objects in contact with the user's chakra to teleport instantly. That meant, the training was working. At the same time, the duration of the special lab session came to an end. Phew! That was exhausting, but I've finally grasped the basics. Natsuki couldn't hide the excitement in his voice. He still wasn't confident enough to teleport himself, too risky, and the range was still short. But when it came to teleporting small objects, he was already fairly proficient, and the distance had reached over 100 meters. Just as he was about to test again, he heard his father-in-law cough from outside and had to rein himself in. During dinner, the topic naturally shifted to Jiraiya again, mainly because Tenten was curious about him, and especially about how Naruto came to know the man. Maybe Naruto is training under Jiraiya, Natsuki offered casually. Naruto knows the Warak no Jutsu, sexy technique, and Jiraiya's a well-known perv. They probably hit it off right away. Plus, Naruto knows how powerful the Sannin are. Once he found out Jiraiya's identity, clinging to him for training would be the natural move. Tenten nodded absent-mindedly, but soon pouted with dissatisfaction. Why did Naruto get to train with one of the legendary Sannin? Just because he knew some stupid transformation jutsu? That was so unfair. Still, mastering the Hiraishin even to this point in such a short time was no small feat. Clearly, Natsuki's talent was something to be proud of. Morning had already broken. Natsuki gritted his teeth and completed his morning workout. After a quick wash and a light breakfast, he collapsed onto his bed and fell into a deep sleep. Staying up all night wasn't sustainable. He couldn't keep pushing hard during the day too. And since his work on the Hiraishin had finally yielded results, he decided it was okay to relax for once. Otherwise, he'd burn out. Maybe the technique was just too mentally taxing. He ended up sleeping until the afternoon. When he woke, he went straight to the ninja tools shop to chat with his father-in-law. Natsuki was curious too. After all, Naruto had already lost in the preliminaries and didn't need to train for the finals. Based on his personality, Naruto didn't seem like the kind to throw himself into harsh training right now. So why was he suddenly sticking to Jiraiya? Was he actually training? Or did he and Jiraiya really just get along due to their shared pervy tendencies? Hard to say, but Natsuki was interested in meeting Jiraiya. Yo, Natsuki? What's got you coming here this early today? The shop owner asked, a bit concerned. Oh, just made some progress in my training, Natsuki replied. Figured I'd take a well-deserved break and come hang out with Oyaji. He casually pulled a deck of ninja slayers from beneath the counter, and the two began a fierce 1v1 match. The game got so intense they nearly forgot to start preparing dinner. While they were setting the table, Tenten stormed in, fuming with rage. Natsuki quickly rushed over. Oi! Who made my wife mad? Tell me, I'll beat the crap out of him. You're here already, hey. Tenten's anger calmed a bit at the sight of him, but she still plopped down with a huff. It was that infamous pervy Sunin Jiraiya. I was passing by the bathhouse on my way home and saw some white-haired creep lying on the roof peeping in. I immediately threw a shuriken at him, but he dodged it. Then guess what? Naruto was nearby. And he recognized that pervert called him Arrow Senin. Yeah, I remember you said Jiraiya was a huge perv, she continued. But I was furious and shouted for nearby shinobi. And turns out he really was Jiraiya. One of the 3 legendary Sunin, the Hokage's personal disciple. And he was peeping on the women's bath, acting all smug and saying it was research. I'm so mad I could explode. Natsuki could imagine the scene. Anyone seeing something like that would have been pissed, especially when every family had women of their own. How could they tolerate something like that? If Natsuki had been there, he definitely would have thrown hands with Jiraiya. After all, Tenten used the bathhouse too. What if that old perv peeped at her one day? So Natsuki joined in on her outrage. Unforgivable. I'm gonna find that bastard and beat him up. If I can fight Orochimaru, I can definitely take Jiraiya too. Tenten quickly grabbed his arm. No, no, no. Natsuki, calm down. I'm not that mad anymore. Besides, I'm not going to the bathhouse again anyway. So relax, okay? Jiraiya may be a pervert, but he's still the Hokage's disciple. If you pick a fight with him, we'll be the ones in trouble. And we're just supposed to let him get away with it. How many girls has he spied on like that? Not only does he peep, but he writes it all into his books. It's disgusting. Natsuki's furious expression actually made Tenten calm down a bit more. She was probably just worried that Natsuki might actually clash with Jiraiya. But thanks to that, her anger really did fade. As she said, if worst comes to worst, she'd just stop using the bathhouse. Jiraiya was the Hokage's student. As ordinary villagers, sometimes it was best to just turn a blind eye, or risk suffering for it. Quick to shift the subject, she asked, anyway, Natsuki, how come you're here so early today? Natsuki smirked mysteriously. You forgot today's the 2nd. Tenten's eyes lit up. So you tested the Hiration last night? How did it go? Natsuki explained patiently, it's dangerous. Writing the formula is easy enough, but once you connect to it from afar, it feels like you're slipping through the cracks of space. One wrong move and you could get hurt. But when it works, you really do teleport instantly. I'm only comfortable teleporting small objects right now. Doing it myself is still too risky. As he spoke, he pulled out a kunai, etched the Flying Thunder God formula onto it, and threw it toward a wall a few meters away. Then, he held a shuriken in his chakra-infused palm, focused, and swoosh, it vanished, instantly appearing beside the kunai. Tenten's eyes sparkled. You've really grasped the foundation already. Natsuki smiled. Yeah, I think I'm getting close to mastering it. I'll start by teaching you how to inscribe the formula. In the beginning, you can try teleporting small things, it won't be dangerous. Once I've fully mastered it, I'll teach you everything else. Okay. I'll do whatever you say. Tenten beamed, her eyes turning crescent-shaped as she hugged Natsuki tightly and gave him a soft kiss. Chapter 120. Natsuki didn't have any grand objectives. Aside from wanting to meet the legendary Jiraiya in person, he also wanted to ask him about Sennin mode, Sage mode. Over the years, although he couldn't claim to have read every book in existence, he had scoured the Konoha library and spent money collecting many ancient texts from outside sources. He'd learned quite a bit about natural energy and the dangers of petrification in the body. But as for how to actually absorb natural energy? Nothing. It was one thing to think about it, doing it was another. Much harder than he expected. So Natsuki planned to take the time to ask Jiraiya about it. How does one absorb natural energy, what does it feel like once absorbed, and how does one control it? He had a mountain of questions, but Jiraiya might not be able to answer them. After all, Jiraiya's own Sennin mode was pretty poorly mastered. He needed the help of Fukasaku and Shima, the 2 great toad sages, and it still took him ages to enter Sennin mode. Someone like that clearly wasn't capable of teaching others. Besides, now wasn't a convenient time to approach Jiraiya. I'll wait until Hiruzen dies, Natsuki thought. By then, Tsunade will be back. If I can't get anything from Jiraiya, I'll use Tsunade to connect with Katsuyu. Katsuyus from one of the three great holy lands 2 slug sage mode must exist. Maybe even Hashirama's Senin mode came from Shikotsu forest. I have to ask. Natsuki wouldn't give up on Senin mode. It was the kind of power-up that drastically boosts both attack and defense. Like equipping a full set of crit damage artifacts, who wouldn't want that? After dinner, Natsuki once again pulled Tenten into their room for a hug and a kiss. Of course, it wasn't just sweet talk. He also used the moment to pass along more tips and precautions about Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, training. They also chatted about daily life. For instance, they'd been ignoring Lee for several days now. Maybe he'd started reflecting. So, time to deliver the senzu bean. They discussed their strategy and decided to visit the hospital tomorrow. They'd work together, stay unnoticed, and cause as little commotion as possible. By midday the next day, they were already outside the hospital, perfectly on time. It just so happened that Guy-sensei was visiting to bring Lee lunch, something Tenten had already scouted out, and was the target for today's operation. Guy-sensei, you're bringing Lee food? Let me see what you've got there. Natsuki called out cheerfully. Oh. You two came too. Guy beamed. I brought lots of meat for Lee. He needs protein to recover fast. Look, these big slabs of beef will fill him right up. Guy opened the lunchbox and gave them his signature shiny white-toothed thumbs up. Natsuki quickly took the lunchbox, saying, let me take a look. Wow! That's some seriously huge chunks of meat. Guy-sensei, you really went all out. Guy folded his arms and replied with pride, if it helps Lee recover, no expense is too great. But then he remembered Lee's condition, and his face fell with worry. Tenten used the moment to shift the topic. Guy-sensei, I've been improving lately, managed to open the first gate, Kaimon. But I can't seem to open the second one yet. Can you help me figure out why? Guy took student training very seriously. As expected, he focused on her immediately and began analyzing her condition in earnest. Natsuki quickly glanced around, no one in sight. With a swift flick of his hand, he slipped a senzu bean into one of the beef slices. Hidden between layers of meat, it was nearly impossible to notice. All Lee had to do was eat it. With the prep complete, Natsuki casually joined the conversation while Guy finished his explanation. Tenten nodded obediently at his every word. Yes, that sounds about right. Try it out again later and come talk to me if you still have trouble. Tenten, you've got great potential, I'm very hopeful for you. Guy said with a proud smile, patting her shoulder. Thank you for the guidance, Guy-sensei. Oh, right, we should go see Lee. I bet he's starving enough to eat a whole cow. Tenten added quickly. Ha ha ha. That's true. Let's go. Guy picked up the lunchbox and led Natsuki and Tenten into the hospital. After checking in, they headed straight to Lee's room. To their surprise, Lee wasn't in bed, he was outside the window doing single limb push ups. He was seriously insane. Wasn't he afraid of making his condition worse? Guy didn't even speak, he marched over and hauled Lee back into the room. Lee. Youthful training is important, but what you need most right now is food. Tenten says you're hungry enough to eat a whole cow, good thing I brought beef. Lots of it. Eat every last bite. Meat helps you heal faster. Thank you, Guy-sensei. Lee replied without hesitation, eagerly grabbing the lunchbox and starting to devour it. He didn't forget to greet them either. Natsuki, Tenten, you came too. I'm actually doing fine, no need to visit me so much. You should focus on the finals, your training is more important. Natsuki and Tenten both nodded. How's your recovery going? You've got to listen to the doctor, no overdoing it. Lee nodded repeatedly. Don't worry, I know. But, His words trailed off. Something felt off. The pain that used to rack his limbs was suddenly gone. Not even a trace. And those lingering injuries from his extreme training vanished. Replaced by an overwhelming sense of ease and strength. Tenten stiffened, instinctively glancing at Natsuki. She believed in the power of the senzu bean, but this was her first time seeing it in action. She couldn't be sure was Lee actually healed, or really healed. Suddenly, Lee tore the bandages off his arm, startling Guy. Lee! What are you doing? Don't give up on yourself. Guy was practically in tears, assuming his student had gone off the deep end. No. Guy-sensei, that's not it. Lee shouted excitedly. The pain is gone. I wanted to check. Look, my arm's healed. And my leg too. He ripped the bandages off his leg. Sure enough, not a wound in sight. Guy was dumbfounded. Natsuki and Tenten feigned shock and quickly joined him in celebration. It was important to act, otherwise the truth would be exposed. Lee. You're really healed? Am I dreaming? Guy shouted, grabbing him and lifting him off the bed. Lee bounced up and down energetically, not a hint of injury left. Guy couldn't hold back his tears of joy. Wah-ya-ya-ya. Lee. This is youth. This is true youth. Guy-sensei. Youth is the best. The two of them embraced, their tears flying as if they were standing on a beach at sunset with waves crashing behind them, a scene so touching, so dramatic, and so cringe. Tenten's mouth twitched wildly. Natsuki immediately reached out to stop her. Don't. Hold it in. Never ruin a touching scene with sarcasm.
Thanks for listening.